only good thing that's happened to me lately. If you have nothing specific to tell about why I shouldn't be seeing her, then don't say anything to me at all.
Somebody here! Help, please! The patient is entering a state of shock.
It's Father Daniel.
Lying heart.
FM ilayska ummadda.
Good morning. This is Good Morning Kenya right here on KBC Channel 1, being the 28th of March 2022. I'm Regina Manyara, glad that you could make time. So much in store for you in as far as news updates are concerned. Looking at what is happening across the world, Shanghai is set for a lockdown actually of 9 days to contain the spread of COVID-19. And this is a resounding reminder that we are not out of the woods yet, even as Kenya records low numbers of positivity rate of COVID-19. So it is up to you and I to continue taking care of ourselves. Further on, in the course of this week, we expect the KCPE results out. And this is according to CS Professor Magoha, who last week had mentioned that if it did not take place last week, well, it is bound to be on the last week of March where we find ourselves in. Now, also matters of politics. Indeed, we had Azimio down in Western, and there's been a talk about, impeachment and who had planned what when. According to UDA boss, is that he is calling for the impeachment of the president, or rather responding to, if you want to impeach someone, let it not be me, let it be Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta, the president of this country. So much is happening in as far as matters of politics are concerned, and being the right place to get those quick updates on what has been trending. It's a team here. Let me introduce my colleagues. Let's start off with Victor Olo.
Good morning. It's the 28th of March 2022, of course. No, we have to celebrate because finally it's raining. It's been hot. The weatherman said that, yes, the long rains delayed, but finally they're here. So Regina talked about the impeachment. Right now, the DP said yesterday in Mombasa that, it wasn't me. So according to the rule, never try to outsmart your boss. That is something that we'll be looking at later on in the program. That's on Eye on Politics. But then, first things first, we just have to get the show on the road. But before then as well, Doreen is here with us as well. Doreen, good morning.
Good morning to you. Right now, is it a question of, or are we in a space whereby we are seeing the president actually spill the beans? It had been that time where, especially Kenyans, are saying, we really want to know what exactly happened between you and the deputy president. Spoke a bit about it during Sagana 3, sort of like spills here and there during the rallies. And while speaking to those Kikuyu elders over the weekend, it was about that time that we actually get to know really what happened. And that was a heavy statement from the president there. I mean, saying that his deputy wanted to impeach him, quite heavy. Nonetheless, we are here, ready, up and early, to bring you what has been happening in Kenya and obviously beyond. Interesting conversations we have lined up for you this Monday morning. Cannot forget to look at how the dailies are looking like, the different that we have, of course, matters news, and obviously also how the roads will be looking like. So stay put up until 10 a.m. Many thanks for making time. I'm Doreen Arange Okelo. Regina, over to you.
Now, with that update, with the update set to be coming your way, well, we want to remind you that we are streaming live on our various social media platforms, include those who want to, or rather enjoy a quick read. Our website is www.kbc.co.ke. official station handle, where you can get, give us feedback on the stories that we are highlighting and your opinions over them, is Twitter. Our Twitter handle is at KBC Channel 1. Mine is at Ray Manyara. Now let's get going with what has been happening as far as news is concerned. And we start off in Western, where ODM leader Raila Odinga has denied that the government is bankrolling his presidential candidature, now as claimed by Deputy President. Now, Raila has instead claimed that William Ruto may be the one using public resources to sustain the lengthy campaign he's been running since his election into office in 2013. Wycliffe Okech has the details of this.
Odinga's Sunday activities began with a church service at St. Joseph Shibuya Church in Shinyalo constituency, Kakamega County. Here, Odinga underscored the importance of the church while urging for peaceful coexistence in the country during and after the electioneering period. The Azimio la Umoja presidential flag bearer, in the company of other leaders, then proceeded on political engagements, including stopovers in Shinyalu, Kayega, and Ikolomani, among others, where he welcomed more leaders into the Orange Party, such as Navakholo Member of Parliament Emmanuel Wangwe.
Na kutoka leo mimi niko katika chama cha ODM.
Raila denied claims made by Deputy President William Ruto that his campaign is being funded by taxpayers.
Kila mwezi jamaa anatumia shilingi milioni 100 kwa harambee, mshahara yake ni milioni 2 yake. Hii inatoka wapi? Hata Safaricom haiwezi kufanya harambee namna hiyo. Sio? Hata jamaa anakuja na kuweka hapo asiyosi nini, watu wawili, taka.
The ODM leader said if he becomes the next president, he will ensure proper utilization of public resources.
Mimi najua pale ambao wanapenda naye na kuingia kwa hazina zetu na kuiba pesa zetu.
Odinga drummed up support for his 10-point agenda, which he claimed had been tested and successfully applied in more developed economies. Leaders who accompanied Odinga dismissed claims by their counterparts in Kenya Kwanza, who allegedly suggested the ODM leader did not care about the Leah nation on matters development, even as they reiterated their support for Odinga's presidential push.
Raila wakati wa handshake na Uhuru Kenyatta, yeye hajapeana kitu chochote kwa Waluhya. Yaani Raila aliingia cabinet ya Uhuru.
Familia ya Mluhya itakuja na invoice kwa Raila Amolo Odinga. Tutakuja tukisema mzee, tumeleta kiwango hii, tunastahili medali hii.
Yaani mmekuja hivi, alafu baba ashindwe. Haiwezekana.
Now, while that was happening, Deputy President William Ruto denied claims that he wanted to overthrow the government and impeach President Uhuru Kenyatta. Now, he was speaking in Kilifi County on the second day of the Kenya Kwanza campaign tour in the Coast region. The Deputy President also accused his political competitors of lacking an agenda to transform the country.
Speaking in Kilifi County during a Kenya Kwanza rally in Malindi, Deputy President Dr. William Ruto refuted claims of a conspiracy to bring down President Uhuru Kenyatta's government.
Mimi ni mtu mzima, mimi ni mtu niko na akili zangu, mimi si mlevi, mimi si wazimu, ati niweke serikali ndani, ati niende nifanyie njama ati ya kuipindua. Mtu ambaye anajulikana kwa kupindua serikali ako Kenya hii na anajulikana.
Wacheni kufanya Wakenya wajinga. Wakenya wamerevuka, hawawezi nunua propaganda. Tafuteni sera, muuzie Wakenya sera. Venye sisi tunauza bottom.
Tunawauliza kwa heshima, wajue ya kwamba umoja na udhabiti wa nchi ndio muhimu zaidi kuliko kutafuta kura na maneno ya uongo na porojo na maneno ya pesa nane.
Ukisisikia haya mambo yote ya porojo, ni kwa sababu wanafahamu wewe unaenda kuapishwa. Na waomba wapani wote tumuunge mkono tena zaidi.
The Deputy President also endorsed Malindi Member of Parliament Aisha Jumwa as the gubernatorial candidate for Kilifi County on a United Democratic Alliance ticket.
Huyu mama Aisha Jumwa mnamjua?
Hebu nione wala wanasema mtatupatia gavana wa UDA.
Ati nasikia watu wanasema huko sijui hii ni ngome sijui ya nani. Ngome ya nani? Ngome ya Pwani ni ya Pwani mwenyewe, na Pwani ameamua safari hii ni William Samoei Ruto.
Meanwhile, Ruto's co-principals Musalia Mudavadi of Amani National Congress and Moses Wetangula of Ford Kenya were in Vihiga County for a series of campaign rallies where they exuded confidence to deliver Western Kenya votes to the Kenya Kwanza Alliance.
Mimi na ndugu yangu Musalia tumebeba yeye kwa mabega yetu, lakini yeye hana shukrani, hana heshima, hana asante. Hawa jamaa wameanza kutikisi ati sisi hatuwezi kuweka gavana ama kuchukua gavana wa mrengo wetu. Raundi hii lazima kitendawili ajue kwamba tulipokuwa tukishirikiana na yeye asifikiri sisi ni wajinga.
We're going to continue talking about politics in not too long with Victor when he engages various, analysts on what is happening in the political scene. Now, the United Democratic Movement Party has endorsed Mandera County Assembly Speaker Mohammed Khalif to succeed outgoing Governor Ali Roba. Leaders led by Roba, who is eyeing the senatorial in the August poll, claimed only the Speaker is best suited to lead the county and enhance the legacy of his predecessor.
The United Democratic Party has unanimously endorsed Mandera County Speaker Mohammed Khalif to vie for gubernatorial seat in the August elections. Khalif was endorsed in Nairobi by a section of leaders from Mandera who say he is the best owing to his track record.
Amekuwa speaker wa county na ameona vile tumeongoza katika county hiyo miaka 5 ambayo tuko pamoja. Ndio tumetoa ishara ya kusema huyu anaweza peleka hawa jamii wote pamoja.
Mandera County baada ya Gavana Robo kutoka amepata kiongozi ambaye anaweza shikanisha wananchi wa Mandera.
Khalif and his running mate Ali Mohammed pledged to unite all communities in Mandera County, even as they dispelled claims that they are projects of the current Governor Ali Roba.
What we want to assure the people of Mandera is that we will put together a government of inclusivity of all the people of Mandera.
Meanwhile, Migori Senator Achilo Ayako has urged Orange Democratic Movement competing aspirants to consider settling the differences ahead of the general election.
Kama wamekihama chama na wanajidai kwamba wanasema kwamba wanampenda Raila, warudi kwa chama.
And a section of Jubilee Party aspirants have called upon their supporters to throw their weight behind the ruling party, claiming it's homegrown and has the best interests of the electorate. The leaders who spoke in Nairobi also cautioned the masses against being duped by persons who are seeking elective offices for personal gains.
Sasa kubadilisha nchi ni viongozi. Tunaanzia na Kasarani, alafu nchi nzima tubadilishe, si ndio?
Jubilee ni lazima kwa watu wa Mlima Kenya, kwa maana ndio gari yetu ya kutubeba, ya kunegotiate kwa jamii zingine ama kwa serikali zingine zozote zenye zitakuja.
And a section of the clergy and the elected leaders in Kiambu County are calling upon the political leaders across the country to desist from abusive and use of derogatory words while on the campaign trail. They spoke at AICPK church headquarters in Githunguri, Kiambu County, during the ordination of Bishop David Gatimu of the Archbishop of African Independent Church of Kenya.
Now, away from matters politics, is as today the government will launch a fresh registration of boda operators and issuance of smart driving licenses in all 52 Huduma centers across the country. The exercise that will be presided over by principal secretaries and senior government officials is set to run for 60 days from today all the way to June 24th this year.
For 60 days beginning Monday, March 28th, boda operators in the country will be registered afresh. The exercise is part of reforms to restore sanity in the sector following incidents of lawlessness that led to President Uhuru Kenyatta to order a nationwide crackdown of boda operators and registration of all motorcycles.
I did give instructions and I have ordered a crackdown on all border operators starting here in Nairobi and moving across the country.
The head of state also ordered a waiver of 5,800 shillings registration fee for all the operators across the country.
We applaud the many wonderful young men and in some cases women who ride these motorbikes and do great service to this country. That is not a license for you and your motorbike to harass pedestrians by driving on pedestrian walkways and chasing them back off onto the road.
Additionally, the close to 2.4 million border operators countrywide were ordered to ensure they register with the SACCO after obtaining a smart driving license. To be registered, a rider must have an original national identification card, a copy of the KRA PIN number, and an active registered phone number. After successful registration, he or she will be issued with a smart driving license. Riders will also be required to enroll for the National Hospital Insurance Fund, after which they qualify for a 200,000 shilling annual cover.
Now, that particular exercise comes after, calls by members of the public as well as various stakeholders to have, regulation into the border sector. And we're still also going to be following up on whether justice has been meted on the perpetrators of a heinous act that took the country by storm that happened, I think, 2 weeks ago, where a diplomat was accosted by border riders. Now, children at the Acts of Hope home located in Kabiria area of Nairobi are staring at eviction after the owner of the land on which the facility sits put it up for sale. The home's director, Bishop Naomi Okwako, is appealing to well-wishers to help them find an alternative accommodation. And now this follows that this particular facility was established as a church in 2015, and it gradually transformed to an orphanage which hosts up to 62 children ranging from the age of, toddlers all the way to teenagers.
Sitting on this 50 by 100 plot in Kabiria area, Nairobi County, is the Acts of Hope Children's Home. Inside, the children sit patiently waiting for lunch to be served, oblivious of the predicament the home is facing. In 2018, Bishop Naomi Okwako started a church in the compound and soon after began taking in orphans and abandoned children.
Wakati natembea kwa wale washirika na waombea, napata mwingine ana mtoto anaishi naye, lakini ukiona venye ule mtoto alipoteza wazazi, labda hamuweki vizuri, na muongelesha, na mwambie unipe huyu mtoto. Juu mimi naona una watoto wengi, unipe huyu mtoto nikae naye, wananipa.
Over the years, the number of children gradually increased, leading congregants to abandon the church. Rent soon became an issue.
Sasa landlord nimekuwa nikimuongelesha ile ngoja nitapata nitakupea ngoja, hata ikafika mahali ikawa hapana. Sasa akaja na fujo, ikawa hatuelewani.
The 62 children now only have 4 rooms. This hall, which served as the church, is now a classroom by day and offers more space for sleeping at night. Trouble again came knocking last year.
Sijakubali hata kukubaliana naye kuhusu muda. Ametaka sana akiniambia nimwambie ni muda gani ambapo mimi naona naweza toka, lakini mimi nimekataa kumpa muda kwa sababu sijakuwa na mahali ninaenda, sina mahali naenda.
The children who call Bishop Okwako mother will find themselves homeless if the plot gets a buyer.
Mimi ndasikia vibaya sana kwa sababu mama ameweza kuhangaika na sisi sana, na kunao wadogo ambao tukiweza kuambia waondoke sehemu ya wajua tenda wapi, na tungeweza kupata mahali ambapo tutaweza kuketi na tutulie, tungesema ni asante.
Even us, we always feel happy when we feel our mom has money and is ready to take us to school, buy for us books and other things. Even when schools open, we don't know if we may go to school or we will remain here because we have big money there in school.
The Acts of Hope Children's Home is staring at a bleak future, with the home's director calling on well-wishers to come to their aid and help them find a different location to set up a home before they're evicted here by the owner who wishes to sell this land. Yusufar reporting from Kaberia area, Nairobi County.
If you're interested, you can get further details on our website. Now off to matters security, where two people from the same family in Village 18, Githinga ward of Laikipia County, are nursing gunshot injuries in different hospitals after they were attacked and wounded by suspected bandits. It is alleged that the duo were attacked near their home on Saturday evening when a gang of at least 30 invaded the area and terrorized several homes before they began shooting indiscriminately.
Residents of Githinga ward of Laikipia County are living in fear following an attack in the area. Two people are nursing injuries following the attack. Peter Akamuto, age 47, and his younger brother Samuel Kinyua, age 29 years, were shot separately during the incident. Speaking at the Nyahururu County Referral Hospital where he is receiving treatment, Peter recounted how the bandits surrounded their homes and started shooting indiscriminately.
Wakati waliona mahali wameingilia na mahali mbaya moja ni kidogo, sijui ni kama walijanganyikiwa, wakaona ng'ombe itawasumbua kutafuta mahali ya kutolea, wakazifika risasi na wakaondoka.
Hata mimi nikashikwa na mchangao, hata mimi karibu nilia. Nikajikaza kimwanaume nikasema sitalia, lakini aisha ningojee ripoti. Alafu nikapiga simu nikaambiwa ya kwamba watu wanapiga simu, majirani wanapiga simu kuwapigia simu, lakini hawashiki. Sasa hawajui kama wameaga ama bado.
His younger brother found himself in the melee as he was returning home and sustained a leg injury.
Majagiri walikuwa wengi kwa sababu walivamia boma zisizopungua 5 na baada ya muda mfupi askari wa NPR wakawa wamekuwa informed na wakarespond kwa haraka.
The attack comes even as the Ministry of Interior defended itself over the delay in the construction of a police station in Olmoran.
Mwaka ikiendelea, mahitaji na malengo saa zingine ugeuka, na ni lazima sisi wenyewe tuulize National Treasury waende watugeuzie, waseme hii pesa ilikuwa ijenge hii police station, tumeona hiyo police station na wako tayari, wacha ipelekwe kwa police station nyingine, kwa ile process inaitwa reallocation.
Meanwhile, a section of leaders in Isiolo County has urged the government to escalate the ongoing operation to flush out armed herders in the region.
Na pia kama kuna vijana wanafuata hizi mifugo iweze kujulikana idadi yao, ndio mambo mbaya ikitokea wenye wamekaribishwa waweze kuchukua jukumu haijafuatwa.
The government should ensure that all communities living here coexist peacefully, so that we can have we are communities living in Isiolo. All of us are brothers and sisters.
The calls come amid heightening tension following the killing of a motorist along the Isiolo-Merti Road.
Now off to the counties that the Kenya Red Cross Society is appealing to organizations and donors to intervene and save over 3.1 million Kenyans affected by drought in the country. Reports from the society indicate that the situation is worsening by the day owing to the prolonged drought that has now lasted for over 3 years.
Management at Kenya Red Cross Society, Dr. Michael Ayabe, said the drought situation is most dire in coastal and northern counties.
And all that we can say is to appeal for support for food, just to support what has already been done. We've already provided food in kind to over 38,000 households.
Elsewhere, the Kenya Tea Development Authority has announced 1.2 billion more in mini bonus payments for tea farmers.
The main bonus will be paid in full on or before the 8th July of this year. This is in line with the tea reforms introduced in the Tea Act 2020, which made provisions for balanced.
Still in Kiambu County, the Kenyatta family convened an interdenominational prayer at the Githunguri Stadium, where the clergy called on Kenyans to foster peaceful coexistence.
We are here to break the evil altar of bloodshed and murder and lack of justice, injustice and slavery and division and competition. And we have prayed this afternoon, and the Lord has heard us.
Meanwhile, a section of journalists in Turkana County held a peaceful protest in Lodwar town, accusing certain employees in Governor Josphat Nanok's office of frustrating them in their line of duty.
Tumeamua kutembea na kuweza kuandamana tukikashifu kitendo ambacho tuliweza kufanyiwa siku ya Alhamisi, siku ambayo tulikuwa tumealikwa kuweza kuzindua watu kutoka kaunti ya Turkana wakipewa cheki.
Mbona tusilete hao watoto wetu?
Elsewhere, the Commissioner for Cooperatives, David Obonyo, has hailed the implementation of the SACCO Society's regulations, saying it has brought sanity to SACCOs by safeguarding members' deposits and assets.
The regulations covers the SACCOs that have mobilized deposits of 100 million Kenya shillings, SACCOs that are operating on virtual platforms, and SACCOs that have been formed by Kenyan.
He cited poor governance and low technology adoption as key challenges in the sector that have been addressed by the regulations and encouraged Kenyans to invest in SACCOs. Finally, the University of Embu, in partnership with the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, NCIC, organized a peace walk dubbed Uchaguzi Bila Noma.
Watoto wetu wanapokuwa masomoni wanaanza kuthamini swala la uwiano, swala la amani, swala la kukaa pamoja, kusuluhisha tofauti zetu kwa amani. So katika kujenga misingi hiyo ndio pana tunataka kutumia leo wanafunzi.
The walk that attracted hundreds of students is aimed at sensitizing residents on the need to maintain peace during and after the electioneering period.
Crossing over to sports now, the Lioness rally that was held on Sunday quite was something there with that 8 female drivers battling for the top honors. Now, among them is Maxine Wahome, who was navigated by veteran Safina Khan.
The inaugural Lioness Rally was flagged on Sunday morning by Kenya Motorsports Federation President Phineas Kimanthi at Kasarani Stadium. After a grueling battle, Maxim Wahome, co-driven by veteran Safina Khan, emerged victorious, clocking 17 minutes and 16 seconds ahead of Natasha Tudo, co-driven by Chantal Young, who came in second.
Leo ni kama tu kuwapa motisha wale ambao hawajaendesha magari na pia wale hawajaifanya navigation, so it's like tunawatrain na pia wana learn a lot.
Caroline Gatimu, navigated by Tinash Gatimu, finished third, while Lisa Christopherson and KBC Channel 1 anchor Pauline Shegu completed the top 5 positions.
We've broken the bias and now we've made history in Kenya for the very first time. An all-women's rally team, only women drivers, women navigators. It's a beautiful feeling.
The Lioness Rally saw 8 female drivers battle for top honors.
Indeed, breaking the bias in as far as rally driving is concerned. Our very own Pauline Shegu there completing that particular rally. Now, Limuru Golf Club's Dan Lubanga led his team of Rosita D'Souza, Mukami Wangai and Hassan Lely to curling 114 points to emerge the overall winners of the 12th leg of the Johnny Walker Golf Series played at the Limuru Golf Club. Kamau Kuria, Timothy Njehia, Jerry Kionjuri and Aaron Kinyanjui came in second, having scored a combined 111 points. 2 of the team of Robert Gashanja, Joseph Ikanyi, Simon Mwangi and Robert Njenga, who claimed the second runners-up position. Meanwhile, Handicap 34 Hassan Ileli emerged the men's category winner, while Handicap 25 Beth Karaoke bagged the ladies' title.
Well, some of us, I believe there are people who will enjoy and they are happy. Sometimes you wake up and you don't play very well, but it was a great day. I had a great company and I enjoyed myself.
So we had more than 200 players grace this occasion. Jody Walker always has a very big turnout here at Limuru Country Club. As you can see, the course is a bit dry given the drought that we are undergoing as a country. But as you can see, we've done a lot of irrigation for our club. Our greens are doing very well. Our fairways are doing better than most.
Well, that brings a cap to Matters News this morning. Remember, further details are available on our website. That is www.kbc.co.ke. For now, we take a quick breather. When you're back, we're going to be sampling the various dailies we have in studio. To keep it right here.
Let them have the taste of the living hell I've been going through. This I'll have to see to.
Do you have a picture of your daughter on you right now?
Oh, here's my daughter's photo.
You had a miscarriage without a baby. Where's your wound? Got inflamed?
Don't expect me to be a nice and tender mother before you go and get rid of all your old habits. I'm going to be extremely harsh on you.
Are you an aspiring candidate in the upcoming general elections? Do you want your agenda and manifesto to reach your voters effectively? At KBC, we have the most comprehensive and credible online platform that has profiles of all prospective candidates. Log on to www.kbc.co.ke/2022 aspirants and let Kenyans know more about you, your past achievements, your manifesto, and your development agenda once you get elected to office. What's more, the website is easy to navigate. We will create your profile, post pictures and short videos with your campaign messages at affordable hosting fees. Log on to www.kbc.co.ke/2022 aspirants today and establish your brand authority as we lead towards the forthcoming general elections.
Very well, now let's take a look at what we have on our front page, on the front pages of our local dailies here, and I have the Star newspaper as well as Daily Nation actually handling for Jen, who is out today, but she'll be here with us tomorrow. All right, so on the Star, DP Ruto to Uhuru. Do not tell lies about me. That's what's on the front page of the Star. DP Ruto to Uhuru, do not tell lies about me. President told Kikuyu elders that his deputy hatched a plot to get him out of office. That's what's on the front page of the Star newspaper. Kenyatta's 7-point plan for Raila victory. You can also take a look at that story. Now, DP Ruto terms Azimio la Umoja team liars, trying to profile him against Kenyans. That is what's on the front page. And of course, excuse me, the DP says that, please, spare Kenyans your lies. DP Ruto tells Kenyatta, he says that the person who attempted to topple government is Raila. It's quite a story here because, one, The deputy president now, the president said that during 2017, Uhuru president said during his meeting with over 3,000 delegates from Mount Kenya, and I quote, Mathira MP Peter Kimari, who was part of the delegation, said that Uhuru told them that Ruto worked behind his back and approached ODM boss Raila Odinga so they could agree on an impeachment scheme. Now, Uhuru told the elders that Ruto wanted Raila arrested and prosecuted after he was sworn in as quote-unquote people president in January 2018. Uhuru told the delegation was encouraging opposition protests in 2017. But Ruto yesterday said that Uhuru's revelations were baseless and propagandist. Okay, we'll discuss this one later on. There's a story here of worker boiled to death in horror steel plant accident. Body reduced to liquid. Not a single piece of him could be traced in thicker tragedy. It said that Caleb Otieno, 34 years old, was boiled to death after he reportedly slipped and fell into a boiler at a factory on Friday. Otieno, a second-born in the family, had worked in the farm's boilers section for the last 7 years. But his sudden tragic end left co-workers and members of his family shell-shocked and actually still trying to come to terms what's there. Very quickly, on to the front page of the Daily Nation here. Storm over Uhuru impeachment claims. Now, the first law of power dictates that you should never try to outsmart your boss. So did William Ruto go against the rule book? The president's shocking revelation on Saturday that his deputy wanted to wrest him out of power was yesterday met with a mixture of distress and dismay, with the deputy president terming Kenyatta's allegations shameful and propagandist. That's what's also captured on the front page. And of course, that story of Otieno, who died on Friday, also captured on the front page of the Daily Nation. Very quickly, yes. There's that story here of stop the propaganda. Ruto tells Uhuru over impeachment claims. Deputy President maintains that the breakdown of his relationship with the head of state was due to the handshake. So who is speaking the truth? Finally, Ruto rips big as Jubilee ANC bleed. Politicians had up to Saturday to switch parties before the August general election. So at least 125 elected leaders, including governors, joined UDA, with most of them coming from Jubilee. Mr. Raila Odinga's ODM and Democratic Action Party Kenya of Defense Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa also benefited from the hemorrhage in their Amani National Congress and Ford Kenya in Western. And of course, Raila Odinga is still in Western Kenya, popularizing his Azimio la Umoja movement ahead of August general election. Doreen?
Great question there, Victor. Who is speaking the truth? Who really should we trust? And obviously, we would have that story also on the PD this morning. And the Deputy President is saying that even if you do not like me, even if you do not want to help me, it's not a time for propaganda and divisive politics. Obviously, going by that, or better still, by those sentiments that were made by the President while speaking to Kikuyu leaders over the weekend in respect to that impeachment scheme that apparently the President said that the Deputy had hatched while, of course, that time, in power, and obviously that time when clearly things really began to go south between these two individuals, that is the President and the Deputy President. So even as that is happening, we have the DP's diary, whereby he is expected to conclude his 3-day tour at the coast. That is today, as he is expected to be in Kwale County and also being hosted by Salim Vuria, who's the governor of that particular county. And he also promised, while still at the coast, to rebuild the tourism sector, knowing fully well that this is one of those biggest economic gains when it comes to the coastal region and what it sets to bring to the country. And also tough decisions Raila must make before elections, whereby, just going by the writer on this particular article, it says that this is not a time where you'd wish to be the former Prime Minister, that is Raila Odinga, obviously citing the fact that he now has new friends, or if you may, new allies, and sort of trying to strike a balance when it comes to interest between his old tenacious friends and supporters and his new allies. And this is particularly when it comes to that running mate question and who he is going to choose, what factors he is going to consider, even as he is going to be going about choosing a running mate there. And also, of course, KCP exams results slated to either be released today or tomorrow, depending on the president's diary. And the two main bills that are likely to derail the budget speech, which is slated for April 7th, coming up at least 2 months early, as 2 months early in respect to how it normally comes. And some of those bills that perhaps might derail that speech include the division revenue bill as well as finance bill, whereby the House Business Committee says that it will be unconstitutional to present this speech if those two bills are not passed. And lastly, parties on the spot over gender rule. This is the 2/3 gender rule, where quite a number of female aspirants have expressed concern on the low numbers of female who have turned out for various positions or who have been appointed even just for various positions. And also those who are holding the different positions, good number of them are citing the issue of harassment as well as frustration. So which way will it be, even as this 2/3 gender rule continues to be a mirage in this country? Regina.
Now, the front page of The Standard is similar to what you have in the various dailies, with that story about, impeaching the president, basically just, trying to get into, or rather delve to know what really happened between President Uhuru Kenyatta and Deputy President William Ruto. That takes center stage on this particular daily. Then also we have matters of national importance when the government is expected to, or rather the Treasury is expected to be presenting its proposed budget for the financial year 2022-2023. We have unclaimed assets that have risen to 59.9 billion shillings. Now, this particular budget will be presented on April 7th. That is sometime next week. And there's been a lot of talk about who are going to be the key gainers in this particular fiscal paper, and the amount that the Treasury is seeking to spend in that particular financial year is 3.3 trillion shillings. Now, according to this particular daily, is that they have quoted 4 people. We have Ukuri Yatani, who is expected to present the budget on 7th of April. We have Uhuru Kenyatta, who is seeking to cement his legacy and finish the projects. Among the projects is the universal healthcare that we saw launched in the coast early this year. And we also have other big 4 agendas, including affordable housing, aspiring food security and manufacturing. Raila, on the other hand, has been quoted saying he's expected to continue Uhuru's legacy and fund the poor. Remember, we've been in the campaign trail. We've been hearing various candidates coming up with what they will do once they ascend to power come August 9th. On the other hand, we have William Ruto, whose allies have proposed changes in the allocation. So this is what we have on the front page, including now something that I'm sure is going to be tackled in our next conversation. And this is about matters politics. So ODM has refunded fees as it doles out direct tickets. This is bound to get some tongues wagging here. According to this particular scribe, he says, the party insists that there will be no nominations in seats where the popular aspirant is already known through an opinion poll. And they say that female MPs are the biggest winners in this particular decision. Just to give you a sneak peek is that according to this paper, that they learned that top party officials are still pushing for negotiations among Nyanza and Coast aspirants to avoid competitive primaries. Kwa lugha ya mtaani, kuangusha brand, when all of you are popular, you actually split the vote and might end up losing and letting the competitor actually carry the day. Areas that are bound to be shaky or other issues, we are looking at Mombasa and the coastal region, as well as Homa Bay. Other areas where negotiations are underway is Migori and Siaya. The party collected 500,000 for those who applied to run for the governor ticket, while those running for Senate in the National Assembly paid 250,000. On the other hand, county assembly hopefuls paid 50,000. Now, however, the figures were halved for female, youth, and people living with disabilities. The party also plans to hold its primaries between April 1st and April 21st. Now, according to the schedule provided by the party, it will conduct primaries in 21 counties out of the 47. The reasoning behind it is that it would give tickets to those who are popular by the poll to avoid, a split, competitive race, so to speak. I'm sure that is going to be addressed by a political analyst in not too long. Also, Ruto has denied the plan to impeach Uhuru and says claim is an attempt to discredit him. On the other hand, Ngereshi has been quoted here talking about, her being ready and making peace with government and doing business. That's just but a sneak peek of what we have on the front page of this particular daily. Victor, to you.
So, to education matters, parents, 2021 KCP candidates in anxious wait for exam results. The results will be released this week by the Education CS George Magoha. They will either be released today or tomorrow before the focus shifts to placement of learners in secondary schools. Now, the marking, compilation, and analysis of KCP results was completed last week. So, the CS today or tomorrow will release the KCP examination results. And yes, let's just wait and see how that will pan out. And of course, many students are also anxious just to see what they did after 8 years in high school. Doreen, it was this moment, and Regina, that all of us went through.
Oh, yes. The anxiety.
The anxiety, the tenterhooks,
The truth moment.
Tumbo joto.
Will I make it to my dream school? Oh, yes. What happens? Will my friends also make it? Will my greatest competitor also? I actually feel for the students.
What will my parents say depending on the results I get?
I feel for the students.
Yeah.
I feel for the students and even the parents right now, because you're thinking, oh my God, we get the results, then we start the Form 1 hustle.
Yeah.
Remember, it has been quite a marathon for, anyone who has a child who is attending school. The COVID-19 disruptions actually, no time to breathe.
Actually, there's no time to breathe for real, because you can imagine if you have maybe 2 kids, or you have got, a child under your wings, you're taking care of. Over the weekend in the village, I had a chat with some lady who said that actually she wanted almost 100K just to admit a boy in school. So she was working to get 100K. She's not received the results yet, but her budget is 100K because, first of all, and that is a boy. For ladies, it's completely different.
It's expensive.
It's expensive.
It's expensive. The education system. Something has to give. Something has to give. And I saw a certain report that was saying that they are mushrooming schools, to cater to the increase in demand, demand right now vis-a-vis what is already available. You find people coming up with schools to cater to a majority of Kenyans who, basically cannot raise that sum of money that you have mentioned. So someone identifies that niche, comes up with a school, and for you, because that's what you can afford, you take them to school. But then there's the issue of, CBC coming in to ensure this doesn't happen, where we move away from, academic qualification and into skill-based kind of education. I hope this is going to bring some uniformity or equality of some sort amongst learners. But the way things are going, even with CBC, I don't know.
But even in respect to that, with CBC coming into play, just as you've well described it, Regina, it's all about trying to build skills to the students. There's actually an article here that says KCB results shouldn't condemn candidates. As we began this, short conversation, you were saying how it was a time of anxiety, particularly for students, and all because of the number of marks that student is going to get. Sort of like defines your future for a good number of them. But again, this is why we say it's not a question of life and death. You did your best. Because between today and tomorrow, depending on that present calendar, as the CS mentioned as to when the results will be released, clearly even a good number of students will not even be eating. They're just sitting there waiting to actually see what marks have I bagged out of this exams. But it's not a matter of life and death.
Yeah, and to see what's happening on that note, because the CES has been actually encouraging more students or even parents to take their students to the local schools, not schools of their choice, but then they'll try to encourage many schools even from the village level down there. You want to go to school X, but you're not able to get the school fees. So if your student is called maybe to school Y or X and you're not able to raise the school fee, perhaps just an advice that for you to get from one placement, make sure that you take them to the school that they've been invited to, all right, as you plan for either transfer later on, as you prepare yourself, because as it is, all pockets are dry. All pockets are dry. Okay. A matter of some politics, ODM refunds nomination fee issues regret to party aspirants. ODM has actually embarked on refunding millions of nomination fees as it resorts to issuing direct tickets in select areas. Now, in the last 1 week, the party issued 10 direct certificates in at least 10 electoral areas, including 3 gubernatorial positions and 4 parliamentary seats. It has also been said that the party is employing a combination of methods, including opinion polls, ratings, and consensus to arrive at the most popular candidate for the ticket. But I think this is a good move because those eyeing woman representative post paid 125,000 shillings, while MCA aspirants paid 50,000 shillings and 25,000 shillings for youth. So when such thing happened, democratically speaking, I think it's a good move to refund, because 150,000 shillings or 250 for that matter is a big amount of money. All right.
Now, Victor, before you actually cross over,
yes.
What do you think, in as far as matters politics are concerned, and I'd want to look at like down in Mombasa, with the governor, the gubernatorial seat, or rather the governor's position.
Yes.
This issue of negotiations, we understand, are happening in Migori. As far as Migori is concerned, Homa Bay, Mombasa included. The negotiations, especially where candidates have been head to head, neck to neck. What do you think would be the likely outcome? And I'd also want you to engage your analysts on this, because I'm looking at Mombasa with particular interest, because we have Abdi Swamat there, and we also have Shabal.
Right.
Those are the two horses.
And just to mention that all of them are, so to speak, close friends to the party leader. And they're active members of ODM party.
That is it.
So it puts ODM leader Raila Odinga in a straitjacket, between a rock and a hard place, because all these people are actively involved in the building of the party, popularizing the party in Mombasa and nationally speaking. And here you are, you only have one ticket to give, one certificate to give to the candidate. So what will happen is this. One, according to me, the party leader or the negotiation that you just mentioned will be based on the opinion polls, one. The consensus, which is also captured here under ODM, the system they are going to use. They're going to look at the performance of each candidate. That is number one. Two, they're going to look at the performance of the opposing or the opponent in that particular region. If I give a Shabal, what will be the probability of our opponent winning the election? You understand? And they're going to look at the records as well of the past general election and the graph. Has it grown If the graph has not grown, or perhaps it grew, at some point it stagnated, and the other person also had an incline, at some point also had a decline in the opinion polls and the ratings in the growth of the graph, then certain things will have to give way. As I said, it's a tricky situation because if you look at Mombasa, Mombasa is, let me put it, heartbeat of ODM, of Honorable Raila Odinga for so many years. And whoever is going to win that post must bear the face of Raila Odinga, so to speak.
Let's also weigh in. Also, Homa Bay. We're going. Yes. We are ODM chairman John Badi and woman rep Gladys Wanga are expected to face it off for the nominations for governorship. Yes. Those are front runners for the to succeed Cyprian Awiti. That is bound to be something.
There are so many. My home county is a tricky one. And by the way, it said that Homa Bay County always. It's always a very slippery spot for Raila Odinga in every electoral cycle, because we have got Honorable Gladys Wanga there, we have got former MP Yugi Magwanga there, we have got former Nairobi Governor Evans Kidero there, we have got Isaiah Ogwe, who is an official at the county again, we have got Mwalimu Akelo Misori.
Imagine, of course.
Right? We have got MP as well. So many of them. We have got almost 10 candidates eyeing the same political seat.
That is Homa Bay.
That is Homa Bay.
Now let's look at Siaya, where we have Senator James Orengo and former police spokesperson Charles Owino. We have former permanent secretary Kari Orege. My friend.
We also have Nicholas Gumbo, who is a former PAC in Parliament.
Oh God.
It's crowded. We have so many people in Siaya. The Luo Nyanza politics is tricky because it's perceived that it's an ODM stronghold, and all the candidates are active members again of ODM party. We only have one ticket to give. So who is it good to?
The Luo Nyanza, just like the coastal region, always those areas that have been ODM stronghold. I mean, and is this why we are really also seeing on this particular daily, the scribe just saying that it is a tough time to be Raila Odinga? I mean, how can you also forget the new allies that he's actually getting at this time, and also trying to strike a balance in deciding or choosing who will go at it on which particular position? But then again, also, I think that in this season, we're really going to see a lot of that negotiated democracy. Just the other day, we saw in Kakamega County, the former senator backing down for the incumbent senator because of what? The fact that he's going to bring in more votes, or the fact that we do not want to just be all the time at loggerheads on who's going to carry the party ticket for this particular region. So I think even as we are looking at Raila Odinga in that particular respect, whether it's in respect to his tenacious supporters or his incoming allies, is the fact that let's just try and give the ticket to the one that really is going to bring more benefit to the party at this time.
Now, Victor, as we come bring this to a close, I think the dates that we need, according to the schedule that has been given by ODM, April 12th, we have Vihiga, Busia, then Kisumu is going to be coming on, actually from April 12th all the way to April 19th, where we're going to be having the primaries in Homa Bay as well as Migori. Is going to be quite the time. Yes. But now also looking at this matrix and throwing in the span into the works into the electoral law.
Right.
Yeah, there's been conversation that there's been there talks about changing some aspects, some clauses, as well as also looking at what IBC has to say. And this is going to border on either party hopping and the issue of having independent candidates. You will definitely unpack it for us as we get into the main discussion this morning on matters politics. This is just to bring to a close. In the headlines, remember further details are available on our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke. But for now, we'll have a sneak peek into what is happening on our major roads just before we speak matters politics. So do keep it right here.
kabwatutikuk ngimoche iyat muguleldang'ung ngimoche imong'ugei nyongebe kiputinai Lalelo kimi kibagenge Kitwek FM kikosin Kitwek FM kikosin
98.0 Kitwek FM kikosin.
Tusifikishane huko, kasirika. Ukitaka pasuka. Sikuogopi Kate.
Nimekasirika kwa sababu mume wangu yuanilaumu mimi wakati mimi sijakutuma wewe.
Tutakuja kunishukuru siku moja hata kama si leo.
Kwa nini nimerudia hapa tena mimi? Tena haraka sana. Ni dhahiri hujatekeleza maagizo yangu.
Kwani hapa kuna sherehe ama ndio vipi?
You have broken my heart. I trusted you.
De traición.
Why couldn't you mind your own business? Why did you make me do this, Rogelio?
Renaud is the only good thing that's happened to me lately. If you have nothing specific to tell about why I shouldn't be seeing her, then don't say anything to me at all.
I told you to stay away from what's mine.
Found a body here! Help, please! The patient is entering a state of shock.
It's Father Daniel.
Lying heart.
Fue sembrando el veneno y la ambición.
Minutes to the top of the hour. Muranga Road as well as State House Road is our focus this Monday morning when it comes to the traffic flow. Nothing really much has been happening there, particularly when it comes to a lot of these roadworks that we have been seeing, specifically here in the city center. But there are those key, very instrumental slip roads, and this is where we are checking on them today. Try to see and track the traffic flow on these particular stretches, how they are doing, also knowing fully well that oftentimes they really serve as good alternative routes, especially for those that are living areas of Wayaki Way, as well as sections of Uhuru Highway when it comes to State House Road and Thika Super Highway when it comes to Muranga Road. So let's just quickly look at how State House is looking like this morning. This is as you leave the University Way roundabouts, coming all the way from sections along Wayaki Way as you head over to the city center. In fact, slightly just past the roundabout as you enter into Kenyatta Avenue, in between these two particular roundabouts, heavy kind of traffic being spotted there, not moving at all on major sections, just at a standstill. But as you branch off to that road, which is our focus this morning, that is State House Road, at least on that particular section, moving at a swift pace, barely any kind of heavy traffic, just a bit of a snarl up here and there on some sections. As you leave areas of Valley Road, leaving areas of Agwix Codex, some sections of Mbagathi Way, as you come to the city center, particularly on that lane, that is just where we're spotting a bit of traffic, but altogether manageable kind of traffic. And that has also been well characterized by that orange color, which is a clear indicator of that. As you leave the areas around sections of Kenyatta Avenue, heading all the way to areas around Dennis Prit there, areas around Valley Road as well, all through that entire lane. In fact, on that particular stretch, no traffic at all, moving at a swift pace, and in fact, nothing is changing there. So just as how it was when we began looking at that traffic flow, that is how it is even up till now. So clearly, if you are leaving those areas that I'm just mentioning, of course, sections of Valley Road, could be areas around Ngong Road as well, Mbagathi Way, coming to the city center, this could be one of those routes that you could use this morning. And again, this is because along Uhuru Highway, just like we've seen there, particularly as you leave areas of Haile Selassie as well as Kenyatta Avenue right this morning, heavy kind of traffic. In fact, this is just changing right now to, you know, really, really heavy kind of traffic, not moving at all, just at a standstill. This has changed this very, very second and again, this is why you keep saying all the time that traffic changes every single minute. So again, this is why you could use State House Road as one of your alternative routes, because look at how Kenyatta Avenue is looking like, particularly for those that are coming from areas around Ngong Road as well as Valley Road. So away from there, on the other side of Kenyatta Avenue, still heavy kind of traffic there as you head over to sections or areas along Nyerere. Again, one of those very good alternative routes, but looks like this morning cannot really serve as an alternative route, because right now, just as you leave the area around All Saints, coming through this particular section, all through the entire side, actually on both lanes of Nyerere Road, this is as you leave the All Saints Cathedral, leaving areas of Kenyatta Avenue, as well as also leaving areas of Westlands, Parklands, Wayaki Way, as well as the University Way roundabout. That's just basically what I mean when I say on both lanes of this particular stretch, heavy kind of traffic there. But again, still, you can stick to State House Road as one of the alternative routes if you're coming from those areas. And this is particularly why we are looking at this stretch this morning when it comes to matters traffic. That is how it is looking like at exactly 36 minutes past 7 a.m. along State House Road, as well as sections of Nyerere and also Kenyatta Avenue.
All right, welcome back, and now let's get to the political segment of this show. Eye on Politics today, Monday, being the 28th of March 2022. Joined by in studio one lady, Wajiru Mathai, who is an advocate of the High Court. Oh, there you have her. All right, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
She's also vying for Kiambu parliamentary seat in Kiambu County. How is the race so far?
I mean, so far we have not yet gone into the depths of campaigning because we're grappling with the issues of nomination.
Yes.
And for a party such as ours, we do not expect that we will have a very rigorous nomination process all around, because in most of these seats, you will find that you only have one candidate.
Yes.
So the biggest hurdle and the biggest challenge will be once the nomination process has been finalized, and now the aspirants know who are your competitors, who will go all the way to the ballot come August 9. So at the moment, we're just doing some soft, outreach to popularize ourselves as candidates, but we have not really gone into the depths of campaigning. Remember also that the IEBC has set a specific timeline when election campaigns need to begin. So we're just popularizing ourselves as we prepare for the real campaigns to commence after the nomination process.
We'll get into the details later on. From the legal point of view, we have the electoral law, which is enacted for the party nominations and party hopping, which is also bring a lot of heat in the political arena. But anyway, we look at that as well. We have got Hamisi Boga joining me via Zoom all the way from Mombasa, and Tabitha Ogutu from Siaya County. Hamisi, how is it down there? Hot, cold? With us in Mombasa, tuko tu sawa.
Very hot, very hot. Temperatures are rising every day. I don't know whether it's political temperatures or the environment.
No, you are the one raising the temperature in Mombasa, Hamisi.
Yes, it's very hot.
Okay.
Both politically and also environmentally.
Yes. You'll take us more on the political side. Environment to achieve the experts. But then, Tabitha, Siaya must be cool and raining this time around. Good morning, Tabitha.
Good morning, Victor. How are you today?
Fantastic. Siaya wichionade.
Siaya chomabere, it's rain. After this, I'm going to the farm to, we are planting to plant some maize seeds. Yes, it's a good season for us. Yes.
Absolutely. All right. So today we have gender parity. All right. 2-2. ladies and gentlemen. So I have got Tabitha all the way from here, Miss Boga from Mombasa, and I have got Mathai here from Kiambu County, vying for the Kiambu parliamentary seat. Okay, so a lot happened over the weekend, and it's now time for...
We all had, and it's almost on all the front pages of our local dailies here, the big revelation from the president on Saturday. And now it's on the front page of the Daily Nation. Storm over Uhuru impeachment claims. We have got Star here. DP Ruto to Uhuru, do not tell lies about me. etc. Let me start with you, Wanjiru, because now perhaps this is bringing a lot of legal aspect when you talk of impeachment of a president.
Correct.
Your take on that?
You know, the effort to impeach a president is not very alien, even in advanced democracies, such as America, where we have witnessed at least, I think, 3 presidents who have almost been sent out through an impeachment process. And I think that the only thing that saved them was that they were not convicted in the House of Senate. We have Bill Clinton, I think, who was almost impeached on grounds of, I think it was perjury. Donald Trump, I think, was almost impeached twice.
Yes, but he survived.
But he survived, and I think the person who actually propagated the impeachment process was the Speaker of the House of Representatives. This is not a foreign concept, really. We have seen it happening even in advanced democracies. And then bringing it back closer to our local politics. I think so far we have witnessed 2 governors who have been impeached.
One Sonko.
One Sonko, Mbuvi, and one Ferdinand Oititu from my very own background. I think that the question that should come into the minds of Kenyans is not so much whether the deputy president made attempts to impeach the president. It ought to be whether the president has committed any acts or omissions that would warrant an impeachment process to be commenced against him. You will recall that when the BBI rulings were read in both the High Court and the Court of Appeal, both courts found that the president had actually violated some, I think it was Article 73 or something of that nature of the Constitution, which is one of the grounds in which a person can actually commence an impeachment process against the president. And it would be interesting to note what the Supreme Court actually rules in that regard.
Because the matter is still active in the Supreme Court, right?
Yes, it's still active in the Supreme Court. So, you know, regardless of whether the deputy president has gone on record to deny the allegations, I think that Kenyans need to be comfortable with impeachment, really, because it really acts like a check and balance towards the executive. So let the Kenyans be comfortable with this impeachment process. And the questions that the Kenyans should be asking is, has the president made any committed any acts or omissions that would warrant an impeachment process to be commenced against him? Remember also that for that, the process for impeachment is very rigorous. A president has to go through the National Assembly, and even still, even if he has been impeached, he still has to go through Senate. So this is not a process that is taken lightly. So we can expect, we're still waiting to see what the Supreme Court will rule.
Okay, Amisi, you know, at this particular point, let me bring you in. So let's just say that it's a season of revelations, right?
Yes.
Amisi, if you can hear me, is this a season that you've been waiting for?
Yes, this is the really season that we were waiting for, and it is here, like the rain, like the heat. And and to add on to what my colleague has said, the process of impeachment is not that easy. And it has been made difficult so that you don't impeach somebody every day. You can imagine, let's look at Embo. Brother Wambora survived about 2 or 3 times because the process is rigorous. It has to be given evidence. You have to have to go to the law. You have to. So any process, you can think about impeachment right now, and the people maybe have impeached, because now we hear from one side, from the president said this, and also from the deputy president, I didn't do this. For now, I think, to me, it's not relevant, that process. The process is what happens next, because right now, we're using that one as a background. Oh, there was a probability of impeachment. Oh, so what happened? So we need to know the details, but actually we're going into the nitty-gritty of the election 2022. Now, what happens? That will add fuel into the process of electioneering. That will give credit when the president goes down to say, I'm voting for so-and-so because this other one was doing so-and-so. And also, it will also allow the deputy president to say, oh, now they are really pushing me to the wall. I didn't do all this. So the Kenyan person will have something to think about. Let's sift between the facts and the fiction. Let's also look at the possibility of a political message, and also let's look at what will be best for Kenya. So this is going to be very hot, actually. It's a platform for campaign. So-and-so wanted to remove our person, so it's not the right one for this. So-and-so is, these people are saying so-and-so did this, but I think our son is clear. You can see all those kind of things. So yes, this is the time. This is the time.
Okay. Tabitha, when you look at the front pages of our local dailies here, and the story is now on the two big boys, so to speak. So who would you believe? The president, his deputy?
Okay, Victor, I think that first of all, the president understands the magnitude with which saying about something like that brings, and therefore we cannot dismiss him entirely as somebody who is selling a political thing or issue, so that some people can view him in favor of his deputy.
Yes.
It will be very petty. So I think as a president, if you look at his track record, he's not been seen as a person who comes out and tries to maliciously say things to paint others in bad picture. So I would want to believe that he has records and evidences to back this. Because if at all the deputy president had tried to impeach him or tried to have maybe meetings in that regard, then that amounts to treasonry. And treasonry, according to the Constitution, is a very big offense. So what we want to see moving forward, and I know when he was saying these words, uttering these words, the president was also, he also knew very well that he'll have to be responsible in answering the whole public about it. Something about this, Victor, is the president has always been painted badly by the deputy president, that he sidelined him in favor of the opposition. And even, I remember yesterday when he was speaking, the deputy president categorically was stating that the president violated the Constitution because he allowed the opposition into government. This is not something that happens every day in our Kenyan democracy or even African democracy, even in the world. Just a few instances we have seen the opposition being part of the government. But why is Kenya such a particular example? There must be something behind it. So we do not literally know if this is the case, because you say you only get it proven, right? So what we want to see basically is now the president literally coming out with the evidences. We want because if it's an attempt of a coup or an impeachment, then there has to be proof behind it. So I will not sit down here today and literally dismiss this as a political selling boat, but at the same time, maybe the timing is what people will consider to be more political, because it's a political season. The country is heating up, as my colleagues have said. But then it might be just a time that he saw it wise for him to now spill the beans, because you've been asking. I remember during the Sagana 3 meeting, Victor, Many people were waiting to hear the reasons why the president and his deputy are falling apart. And one time, David Murathe, addressing the mainstream media in one of the leading national televisions, he stated that some of the reasons that have led to the drift between the president and his deputy are more personal, and they were touching on life than what we literally know. So what we want to see now is evidence. That is the only way we can sit down here and judge this as either true or false, but we cannot dismiss it entirely as fallacy. Yes.
Absolutely. You know, it's the way you put it. It's a heavy allegation, and the fact that it comes from the president, we cannot just rub it under the carpet and say it's a political season. Anything said is now political. All right.
Yeah. Yes, Victor, we cannot entirely say that it's a political season, and therefore, what he maybe was doing is even in politics, we always sit down here on this TV and say that in politics also you honestly have to keep your best card for the best time, eh?
Yes.
So it is the truth, because he's the one who knows the truth. And I'm very sure he cannot just make an allegation on empty ground. The international community will be looking at this and all that. He has an image to keep as a very reputable president that we have had. So what literally he was waiting for maybe was this is the particular time he thought.
It is the timing. It is the timing.
Yeah. So it doesn't mean that now, because the political time is really sending a false statement or whatever.
Let me bring in Wanjiru here. Wanjiru, I'm still on the issue of timing because it's political, and we've always been waiting to hear nini ilifanyika between the president and his deputy. For all these years, people would say, honestly, at some point the bromance, the famous red shirt, the red tie and the white shirt, my brother, all happened all overnight, and they stopped being brothers and friends. Are we now starting to get the revelations?
The timing issue is actually also very suspect.
Yes.
Why now? Because if you recollect, the president and the deputy president seemed to have parted ways sometime in, I think that was around March 2018.
2018.
That's a long time ago.
That's like we are in March.
Yes. Yeah. And the question as to why these two principles drifted apart has always come up. So to say that this coming from the president is not something that we should take lightly or not. I mean, we need to also put the president to task to tell us why did he take this long to tell us that this is what caused them to drift.
Yes.
And this is not it's not even an issue that would particularly cause some level of upset in society. So why would he delay bringing this up? The other thing I have an issue with is how can he demonstrate that the deputy president actually tried to impeach him?
Perhaps the top secret.
Let him reveal everything. Let him bring everything to the table so that the people can weigh the facts and the evidence.
Yes.
Even in a court of law, when you make allegations, you must always back it up with evidence. So he cannot just make certain allegations without tabling the evidence to the public for public scrutiny, because now the deputy president's character is at stake.
Yes.
In the eyes of the public.
And we all know the weight of the process of impeachment, and that allegation coming from the head of state that, my deputy tried to impeach me. No wonder the president came out yesterday openly, and the counterattack on the president's sentiments were quite heavy.
And at what point did the deputy president, attempt to impeach him? Because the impeachment process needs to be commenced by in the National Assembly. So how was this? How he needs to. This is why I'm saying he needs to demonstrate how this happened. Sometime around March 2018, which warranted his decision to now shake hands with the Right Honorable Raila Odinga.
Yes. You know what, Amisi? One interesting thing is we've talked about timing, and when you hear the president saying that his deputy tried to impeach him, let me just quote what Mathioe MP Peter Kimari said. He was part of the delegation at State House and said that the president told them Uhuru worked behind his back and approached ODM boss Raila Odinga so that they could agree on the impeachment scheme. Now, Uhuru told the elders that Ruto wanted Raila arrested and prosecuted after he was sworn in as the people's president in January 2018. Ruto said that Uhuru told the delegation was encouraging opposition protests in 2017. What's the take on that, Amisi?
My view is, let me go back to the situation where I said it's hot and it's becoming hotter. My view is that this thing started, the struggle between the two started, as everybody says, in 2018. That's what we know, that's what we have observed. But you see, the president has the whole country in his hands. The president has intelligence that we don't have. The president has to make a decision that will not affect all the Kenyans. I'm looking at it technically from a neutral point of view. If he had initiated the allegations in 2018, what would happen to us, to the country, and everything else? But if you observe, why did he bring in the opposition into the fold? So that you remember, somebody said, I brought him to help me because the situation was getting bad. So we have a lot of information that we don't have, which illustrates that actually there was something wrong. And also, if impeachment starts for the president starts from the parliament, maybe that is where it was going to start. And maybe that is where the president said, oh, let me start, crop it down immediately from there. That's why he brought in the opposition with numbers, and you could see the debate. Those of us who have been here watching parliament and deliberations, there has been a lot of debate. There have been a lot of opposition inside the government. So these are indications, and maybe the timing, we're coming to that concept of timing and strategy, timing of revelation and the strategy of saying, if I say it now, it's better than if I said it 2 years earlier. You can see all the discussions that were pro-government or the president were opposed by part of the government. So this, in a political scenario, forget about legal for now, political scenario, there were strategies of sabotaging what the president would say. So these games were there, and maybe we're coming to the fore. It's safer now, because whatever decisions, you cannot start the proceedings for impeachment.
Yes.
Or you cannot start the legal proceedings for the deputy president. We are hearing so that we can make a decision for the election, so that coming October, November, in the new dispensation, then we shall be clear what happened here. History is important. It will carry on our knowledge in the future of politics. So this is interesting. The president has information, he has the security, he has intelligence, he has the people underground. Maybe he knows what we don't know. The deputy president has intelligence, has security, has information which we don't know. So anyway, let's hear more. In fact, in the next coming months, we may hear more.
We are likely to see more. Tabitha, one interesting bit is that we would want to know what really happened. So at this particular point, we can just have a wild guess how the separation and the divorce between the two quote-unquote one-time brothers was. The extent of the damage.
Yes, Victor, I guess you are directing that question to me.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
So Victor, as I said earlier, we cannot entirely dismiss these claims, knowing that the president understands the magnitude that this will bring. So another thing I would also want to say that for him to come out and say something like that, there must be evidences to back him, because also we want to know.
Exactly, that's what Sanju is also talking about here.
Yes, there must be. So we can't also sit here and say that there are no evidence. And I'm very sure at the appropriate time, when it's needed, and because the public also right now wants the evidence. evidences. The president will come out and give us the evidences. He just started a conversation around the issue on why the sudden fallout with him and his deputy president. I do not know why the deputy president also had to come out very early and defend himself yesterday. And he was bringing it in a very interesting way, that now because he refused to be the government project, now the government, the president is trying to pin him down by painting him in a bad picture. I do not literally understand the deputy president at times because, Victor, from where we are sitting, the other week when we were discussing this and you were saying, why is he telling the president to step aside and allow him to face the whole right honorable Raila Amolo Odinga head on? Why does he have a problem? And now he had a problem because the president never backed him. And now he has a problem because now he's also saying that he wanted to be a state project and the state refused to back him up. So literally what he needed to also have called the president is dared him to give us evidence. That is not something we had him say yesterday. And literally, if at all, I had one of our panelists saying that why right now? And then I will also ask, why is it not right now? What is the problem with this particular timing? It's a politics. Kenya is a political country.
So timing to you, timing is not an issue.
It's not an issue here. What we want is evidence. If it exists, then the so-called Treasury Act is something that was tried. If it's going to be proved, I said one is guilty till proven to be so. So,
yes.
So as Amicia said, sometimes we do not have to read a lot of legal issues into things, but we have to look at it as at a political angle. At the end of the day, our president is a politician apart from being an incredible leader, and therefore this is what he will have termed as a politically correct timing to bring this forth. So what we need to see is evidence. And once the evidence is out, which I believe, I want to believe that the president has evidence. The president cannot just come out and say something like that without anything to back it up.
But
and then we have also, yeah.
We might wait a little longer before we see or get to see the evidence.
Yes.
All these are politicians, as you correctly put it, but we might not get the evidence. Remember, the president has 24-hour intelligence. All right, the briefing is always there with him at his fingertips. Anytime at the touch of that button, you get the intelligence. He had all the MPs in Parliament, the Jubilee, and now ODM boss Raila Odinga. But then Tabitha, Wanjiro, how is this damaging to the DP politically? Such an allegation, and the president called the Kikuyu elders in State House, 3,000 delegates, and he spilled the beans on his deputy.
The only way I see it as damaging to the DP's candidature is that people on the ground are suffering. There's real issues that are affecting people economically and otherwise. And this could turn out as a narrative that it is in fact the deputy president's attempt to impeach the president to forestall any development from happening.
Yes.
So any allegations that a party was actually primarily involved in trying to forestall any development from happening is actually a very grievous allegation.
It is.
And because the deputy is trying to also sell his agenda as a person who wants to bring progressive change, especially to those people who are at the lower cadre of the economy. So that is how I see it affecting the deputy president's candidature, that he tried to sabotage the development of this country by trying to impeach the president and the agenda that the president had set about for development. Yes.
I'll bring it back to you, Tabitha. In terms of the damages, the DP must be so much aware of the extent that this actually would bring to his political career. Okay, all right. Tabitha has disappeared. Sawa. So on that note, let's take a break. But when we come back, I'll still get back. Tabitha, allow me to take a break. You can also grab a cup of coffee. In here, you can do porridge briefly. For us in studio, we're taking a break. We'll be right back with more. Okay.
I'll let them have the taste of the living hell I've been going through. This I'll have to see to.
Do you have a picture of your daughter on you right now?
Oh, here's my daughter's photo. You had a miscarriage without a baby. Where's your wound? Got inflamed?
Don't expect me to be a nice and tender mother before you go and get rid of all your old habits. I'm going to be extremely harsh on you.
Since we met, baby, no need for running around. Looks like you cool me down. You cool me down. 1, 2, 3. I love you. 4, 5, 6. I'm missing you. 7, 8, 9. I want you back.
Oh, baby, I'm telling you, I'm sorry, but I'm leaving you. You never should have made me cry. I'm sorry, but I'm
Mundos divididos por una sombra de traición.
Why couldn't you mind your own business? Why did you make me do this, Rogelio?
Renata's the only good thing that's happened to me lately. If you have nothing specific to tell about why I shouldn't be seeing her, then don't say anything to me at all.
I told you to stay away from what's mine.
Found a body here! Help, please! The patient is entering a state of shock.
It's Father Daniel.
Lying heart fue sembrando el veneno y la ambición.
Perfect. All right. So let's continue with the discussion here. It's about revelation from above. Okay. So Tabitha, before we took a break, let me just ask you, I need to interrogate further. What extent of the damage is this allegation to the DP?
Victor, I think at the moment still we can't say that it's already doing a lot of damage.
No. Politically speaking, yes. With
yes,
that,
is what
and remember, the president spoke this, at State House with the 3,000 delegates from Mount Kenya. 3,000 is a big number.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say that there might be damage already, but not as huge as we would expect, because already a lot of people are reading, say they're reading a malice into this because it didn't back this with evidence. The only time that now this will go full blow, it's when now the president will come. I would expect that he'll come and address the whole nation and tell us about this, because we are equally, we also want to know who is this that's tried to jeopardize the government and even the life of the president. He said that he also came after his life. We want to know this as a country, and not just as a part of a particular part of the country. So as it is right now, there is now how we will look at the deputy president, especially the side that is aligned to Azimio. Now they have even more reasons why he should not be a president, if at all the deputy president is found culpable of committing such an offense under the constitution of Kenya. But then as it stands still, actually he'll have a lot to lose if the president now goes full blow and spills the beans for the whole country back with evidence and things like that. So it's a trying moment for his image. It's a trying moment for him as a deputy president. But at the same time, he's been trying to taint the image of the president, claiming that he's somebody who does not keep his promise, is somebody who lies to people, and things like that. We have seen him campaign with the name of the president time and time again, painting him as the wrong person. And the president kept telling him that, wacha tu waonge, mimi kazi yangu ni kufanya kazi hizi. And now it's time for the truth. It's the truth, Mr. Victor. And yes, he's not going to like this particular tune. We are waiting to see now what awaits ahead of the president's revelation. Yes.
But then, Abisi, then at this particular point, then it means that the deputy president must be quite categorical and tactical in his moves, because the president is also now pulling those secret cards one by one. Remember what happened at the KICC that season, the day of Nito Boy. We all remember that. Yes. And then Kasarani and Sagana 3, and now Saturday again. He's pulling these secret cards one by one.
Very, very strategically. Very strategically. And I want us to go back to the 48 Laws of Politics by Robert Greene. And I think the deputy president should have read some of those laws to be able to assist him look at the situation. And he still has time to do that. Because the moment something went wrong in 2018, 2019, I think there was time for the deputy president to address those issues. Then he waited and he went right into Kiambu, into the bedroom of the president politically. And you could see people in the region, especially in the county where the president comes, they are all saying the deputy is better than the current president. The mountain people were saying no services were being rendered to the mountain. You see, that was the political language. I think now the president is coming back to say, yes, this is that response to that. So Robert Greene says, please, when the leader is on the chair, never attempt to overthrow him, never attempt to surround him with politics. So we need to see, and it's coming, because I think what you said is good. These strategies are, you release one at a time, you feel the effect, you evaluate the effect, you release another one, and then there is the big one coming. The big one coming will just finish him in terms of politics. When it comes to personal, this is where the Kenyans say, let it be political, but not too personal. Mention certain names right now, names beyond the people we are talking about, names of the relatives, names. When it becomes muddy, and if it becomes muddy, there's an effect. The other effect is there was a wave. Almost all of us were saying, oh, the deputy president has already swept the mountain and also the country. He has the keys. But I think the keys were given to somebody who gave the keys back to Uhuru. All the doors have been opened now. So it's an open field. Even our candidates in the studio should just go and campaign so that there's no lock anywhere. What we need to hear is, I'm asking for your votes. I'll be able to do this. These are my strategies. These other things should come later. But between the two, now the war is between the president and his deputy. You can see that Honorable Raila Odinga is, in Mombasa we say he's floating in the political wave. And there's no problem. In fact, there's no hassle. There's no buckle wherever he is. So I think that's a diversion so that the deputy fights the president while we are campaigning for the presidency. And it's going to be very interesting as we go along. There were indications earlier, and the deputy president didn't see that. When the president said, please go slow, let's work and then politics will come by. Don't tanga bits. And, those were some indications which were not well read because the information was already there. We saw the division in parliament. We saw BBI's effects. We saw So these things are there, and now it's going to be very hot. I'm using that word politically. It's going to be very, very hot for the deputy president to handle this. You can see the people who have migrated to the Jubilee and Azimio. It's almost half of the country is already gone.
Okay.
So maybe the remaining part will come.
Okay. You know what, Wanjiru? The deputy president yesterday in Kilifi said that all these allegations are lies and propagandists. The president, so basically the deputy president is saying that, you know, okay, you're a politician and I know the tactic you're using, so be it.
Yeah.
Whatever you're saying is baseless.
The president will have a tough time convincing Kenyans why he made the decision to part ways with the deputy president on the grounds that the deputy president attempted to impeach him.
Yes.
And then on the other side, he decides to shake hands with the very same person who tried to hold a parallel swearing in after the election.
Yes.
So, I mean, what was the strategy here?
It was a drastic shift. It was a drastic shift because nobody saw that coming. Until now, you're asking the same question.
Yes.
I mean, we didn't see that coming. 1 minute, this is a person who took it to court, nullified the election, took to the streets. You remember the tear gas Mondays? And then all of a sudden, we are now friends.
Yes.
That's politics, what you can say, all right?
Yes. Yeah.
Continue.
I mean, at that time, you would also appreciate the fact that Right Honorable Odinga had quite a number of people in Parliament, parliamentarians who had been elected under the ODM ticket.
Yes.
And so at any moment...
Way back it was NASA. Yes, it was NASA.
Yes, it was NASA at that point. And at any moment, he could have actually frustrated the operations of the government as well.
Yeah.
So all of these are just mere allegations. At this point, at this juncture, these are mere allegations. Remember, the president began by saying it was the fact that he could not work with the deputy presidents because of his integrity issues. And then now he has shifted on, and he was very categorical about what issues these were.
Yeah.
And then now he has gone on to talk about the impeachment. These are there are so many allegations flying around, and at a very crucial time when these allegations will tilt the voter in one way or the other.
Yes.
So that is why the president's utterances are coming into question at this time. Why now?
But okay, Tabitha said, why not now? You know, in terms of strategy in politics, strategy is key, and how you attack your opponent is your business, because you just need to ambush. Don't give your opponent some signs that, you know what, I'm coming to attack you. You just ambush. But nonetheless, you know, it's the same question I've asked Tabitha, because is it a point of now pulling the cards? I've asked Kamisi, the same time you're pulling the cards, we had Sagana 3, what he said, we had what the president said at KICC again on Saturday. So what next remaining? Are we, because an impeachment is a serious allegation, so what are we expecting next then?
And you know, the other thing I'm taking, you know, concern over the manner in which the president is relaying this information is that the emotions are very, very key when it comes to politics.
Yes.
And a politician knows how important it is for them to control the emotions of the masses when it comes to persuading a person to vote one way or the other. And so this act of, you know, pulling one card at a time and leaving the people in suspense, that is in itself a strategic move to, you know, to keep the people anticipating, anxious,
yes,
you know, and I don't think that it's even healthy for the voter at this particular moment. It's not healthy. So, and that is why I'm still going back to, are we considering the voters when are we considering the country? Are we considering our citizens when we are doing these actions, when we are making these allegations?
But politically, probably it's working for the president and his handlers and advisors. You know?
Of course it is.
The voters will not mind about, oh, okay, so what next? We're waiting. The president said that my deputy tried this and that again. So what next?
Yeah, I mean, it really does cause some level of anxiety. It causes some level of anxiety. Remember that at this particular point, the deputy president...
Are we expecting a lot of another Toboa, you know? Because it seems that as we speak, the president is now all out, flat out.
Yes, Victor. This is what I would want to say, that there is no problem, politically viewing it, there is no problem with what the president is doing and how he's decided to deliver this kind of information to us. There is no problem at all, because he has not incited anybody. He hasn't incited anybody to get out there and try and do this and this because this was done. He's just taking his time, a day at a time, and I know at an opportune time, because you tell me the president also has his own advices, political advice. So maybe
Yes.
this is the way they have, and I have no problem. I also don't have a problem with the timing. Why is the timing wrong? I would want it to be known. Apart from just the fact that it's a political time and the country's on heat and things like those, what again is the other reason why this timing is wrong? The president hasn't done anything wrong in terms of timing to bring this information. And in fact, it's, I think, one of the reasons why he maybe chose this time, because he's been working. The president has been working. We have seen the levels of development we have been able to experience under his tenure, especially this second term, having joined hands with the opposition and forming the government in a way that is conducive for all Kenyans in a very peaceful way. So I will not say that the timing is very bad. The timing is that the president, in fact, he said it. He has already answered the question during the Kasarani, the Azimio NDC, when he said that he was in the office working and he could not come out at that particular time of work and state things politically, because his deputy president was already politically out there selling himself and his manifestos to the people, the bottom up and the likes. So the president was busy delivering to Kenya, and we will say the president has delivered, maybe not 100%, but he has tried his best. And it's been very well, especially when they join hands with the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. So the timing is not an issue. The only issue we have is the evidence, and that is what we are waiting for as Kenyans. And if it is true, then, Victor, as you asked me earlier, this is going to hit hard on the deputy president, because either if it is now or even if it was done at that particular time, believe me, there are people who support him, but they do not, but they will not align with this integrity issue of him trying to impeach the president and other utterances that the president had made. So I will not, as I said, I will not read calls into this, because again, we cannot say that it's a false thing if and it has not been proven. We literally are waiting for the evidences, and once they're out, then Victor, I think we'll be back here to say that. As a people, as a country, that is not the direction we want to go. That you cannot. I said you. I remember the other time when on Friday when we are having. On Wednesday when we are having this discussion, and one panelist also raised the question of now, why is it that the president was not supporting his deputy, and yet he had claimed to give him yangu kumi, yako kumi, and it changed all of a sudden. And we stated categorically that there must be much than what meets the eye. And the president and the deputy president are the people who knows the truth. So we literally are waiting. This is going to be a very interesting time to be alive in this particular country. And we want to see that nobody is accused on false ground. Evidence is what we want, and if it's evidence, then there is no wrong with the timing or with the season as it is.
Tabitha, when you talk about timing and evidence, I would also put to question this one. The deputy president has been calling Right Honorable Raila Odinga Muganga, so we cannot say how Muganga, the paraphernalia, and it's we can just treat it as politics. But then, Amisi, allow me to put it this way.
Yes.
The deputy president the other day said that he was asking the president not to use the same sword they used during their time in campaigning. So perhaps the deputy president is so much aware of that sword, quote unquote. Was he expecting this to come?
Yes and no, because this is very interesting period. There was one time one politician in Kenya said, I don't have to say anything, read my lips. I think people are told now to read the lips. The president may not go beyond what he has already said. But if we read the lips, then we say there's something under the water. And when you see the water so cool and it's not moving, don't put your leg there. It's deep.
Yes.
It's deep. So, yes, this is what would happen. Right now, the gloves are off. People are going to fight bare hands, and it's your word against my word. I was reading the paper, say, who do I believe? Do I believe the president, or do I believe the deputy president? Or do I believe the people who are saying about the deputy president and also about the president? So this is a very trying time for all of us, but there must be something beyond what the Tabitha said is very good. There must be something by the time somebody speaks. There must be something that was under the ground for a long time. And I use the concept of timing and strategy. When do I respond to this? Is it the right time to respond? And what part do I respond? Do I respond everything, or do I give one part? So as we stand right now, we cannot blame the president, and we cannot blame the deputy president. The deputy president is looking forward to getting this seat, and therefore he will use all the means and possible strategies to be able to do that. But the president wants to finish this race nicely and have a legacy that when I was there, I did X, Y, Z. So when we interfere with that process, it is like sabotaging. And the concept of sabotaging, somebody can hit back. Say, when you sabotage me, in the process, I'll sabotage you before you enter the process. So this is a war, political war, as you say, and therefore the warriors behind, and the worst people are the people behind the warriors. Those people who say, Toboa, Toboa. You know, when you are fighting in Mombasa and say, Piga, somebody else said Piga, but he's not the one fighting. He's inciting you to Piga, so it depends on how you Piga. This is about an area. So he's coming to tell his people facts before he comes to tell the nation this. The information will reach us, because whatever language you use, if you use Kijaluo, I will ask Tabitha, what did the Mkubwa say? If you use Kikuyu, I'll ask Wanjiru, Mkubwa anasema nini? So the information will reach us. And it is better that way than the big information coming to you straight, because now let it be sifted, let it come softly, because it can be a bang.
Okay, so let's just assume that had Mathioya MP, that is Peter Kimari, was not there at State House, they perhaps would have not known what happened. But here we are. How will it affect the voters in the long run, Wajiro?
Like I said, it's not a very pretty picture that two people were elected together, they campaigned together, they sold a certain manifesto which they had promised to implement together, and one goes behind the other's back and tries to impeach the other.
Yes.
I mean, it's the highest level of disloyalty next to, you know, any attempts to assassinate the president. So this is just a question of loyalty, and can the deputy president be you know, trusted with the highest office in the land?
Yes.
If he can do whatever it takes to remove a person from power. Remember, this is a president who people it would appear as though he's trying to subvert the people's will in terms of who they want as president. So that is also denying them the opportunity of, being served by the president who they rightfully chose.
Yes.
And that action of subverting that is also something that would bring discredit to the deputy president and also...
and perhaps not even to Kenya alone. When such a statement comes from the president, you remember the international community is watching. Yes.
I mean, again, like I said, it's very hard to decipher what is propaganda and what is real. And the only thing that would set these two apart is, can you give us evidence? Show us the evidence. Show us something. And to date, nothing has been tabled. So we can only treat it as allegations. And in any court of law, everyone is presumed innocent. We cannot now begin to cast aspersions which we cannot validate by tabling evidence. So the president has a very heavy task to convince Kenyans whether whatever it is that he is saying about his deputy is actually true or false.
Yes. But when these 3,000 delegates go to the ground and they speak to the people, you know what? This is our man. We elected him. We come from the mountain, and his deputy tried ABCD. How will it affect the voters? With all the 3,000 delegates going to the ground and hitting the ground, running, campaigning, and perhaps selling the message, and maybe they had a particular message taken to the people.
I think that what would really tilt the voters, what would really persuade the voter to vote one way or another, is who has put them in the current situation that they are in.
Yes.
And everyone's integrity has been put to question. If you look at the KEMSA scandal, for example,
exactly,
the president promised Kenyans that within 21 days, this matter would be tabled before Parliament. A report would be issued, and all perpetrators who are mentioned in that report, actions will be taken against them. And we are still yet to see that. So that in itself casts certain, character or integrity, question into about the president. So everyone's integrity here is at question. So if you go to the voter, for instance, and say, oh, the deputy president tried to impeach the president, at the very best, it's going to be treated as propaganda. It will be treated as, at this particular stage, it will be treated as propaganda, unless evidence is tabled. And the voter is not as gullible as you would imagine. They know it is political season. They know that there are certain interests that are at stake, and that all principals involved will do whatever it takes to protect certain interests, including selling propaganda in order to sway one vote to the other.
That sounds like what the deputy president said yesterday. And we can only say that politicians know each other very well. You counter one another, then I counter. That's the name of the game.
Yes.
I don't know how you people play it, but anyway, you try to outsmart your opponent.
Yes.
Tabitha, I'm still asking the question of where the message came from. When Mathioe MP, that is Mathioe MP Peter Kimari, who was there, it came from an unlikely quarter, the mouthpiece. Can we believe the source? The source?
In the analogy of a river, the river has to have a source, of course, for it to, even form this.
Okay. Tabitha, I said the governor should invest on network in Siaya County. I'll be back with you shortly. Let me just go straight to Amisi. Amisi, again, the issue of the source and how the voters will be affected in the long run. Well, it's political season and anything can sell. But how will this affect the decisions that, the deputy president has made moves in the mountain region, and perhaps when we hear the 3,000 delegates coming from the mountain region and they're being told such things, they are going back to tell the voters, you know what, this is what the boss said, and we have to get the message straight. Amisi.
Recording in progress.
Victor.
Yeah, Tabitha is on, is it?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
No. Take it away. Amisi.
Okay. I think politics is what it's all about. When something is spoken so many times, people seem to believe.
Yes.
For example, I'll give you a good example. This example of that Honorable Raila Odinga is, to use the Swahili word for inimchawi. So it has been said so many times until now, some people believe, huyu jamaa ni mchawi kweli. Most people are going to his team. So the allegations, this propaganda, when it is spoken so many times by people, you tend to believe there's something happening. So now it's time for politics. And my dear sister said illegal politics requires that you give evidence. In political court, everything is possible, including propaganda, including says you wanted to do this, and my people will believe actually you wanted to do this. So it depends on the persuasion of the person. And I said earlier, read the lips. You don't have to say everything. If Amisi said this, and there are some people who are believing in him, and they propagate that saying is going to be like fire. And now is the time that we need to stick. That's why I said the lieutenants behind these leaders should now bring it down and say, okay, politics, no politics, let's concentrate on development. Let's concentrate on what we want to offer when we come in. If I was advising the deputy president, he should just go to every part of Kenya and say, when I come on top of this place, I'll do X, Y, Z, rather than responding. Because now he's all the time responding, and he may even lose his idea of my program, my project. He will just be responding, because tomorrow somebody else will say, and then he responds. It's going to delay and derail him also. So, believe or not to believe, in politics, everything is possible. Again, we're talking about political strategies. They may not be even legal. Situations where you need to sell the propaganda, they may not be even legal at all, but people will take it in because they have been presented to that one. They've been presented with the issues that will affect them. So people say, if the deputy president takes over and he has been doing this, and for the last 3.5 years has not been supporting the president, is it okay? Are we questioning that one? Does it reflect in the next dispensation when a deputy president does not support the president? Is it okay? So there are so many questions also on both sides, as my sisters have said. But now is the time. Kenyans, please open your eyes and ears, make a selection, make an election here so smoothly, make a decision based on the facts and the information we get. Legal information will come when people are now.
All right. Okay. So, Amisi, let's take a break, and when we come back on the final stretch of this discussion, we'll discuss more on the issue of personality test. The deputy president's personality has been put to test, and the way you're putting it, many questions are now being asked. What if? We'll discuss that later on after this break. Let's take a break. We'll be right back.
an aspiring candidate in the upcoming general elections? Do you want your agenda and manifesto to reach your voters effectively? At KBC, we have the most comprehensive and credible online platform that has profiles of all prospective candidates. Log on to www.kbc.co.ke/2022 aspirants and let Kenyans know more about you, your past achievements, your manifesto, and your development agenda once you get elected to office. What's more, the website is easy to navigate. We will create your profile, post pictures and short videos with your campaign messages at affordable hosting fees. Log on to www.kbc.co.ke/2022 aspirants today and establish your brand authority as we lead towards the forthcoming general elections.
Tusifikishane huko, kasirika. Ukitaka pasuka. Sikuogopi Kate.
Nimekasirika kwa sababu mume wangu yuanilaumu mimi wakati mimi sijakutuma wewe.
Tutakuja kunishukuru siku moja hata kama si leo.
Kwa nini nimerudi hapa tena mimi? Tena haraka sana. Ni dhahiri hujatekeleza maagizo yangu.
Kwani hapa kuna sherehe ama ndio vipi?
You have broken my heart. I trusted you.
Okay. Welcome back. And now, home stretch. What is the effect of personality test on the deputy president as far as this allegation is concerned? Wanjiru?
I think Kenyans are quite honestly, Kenyans are also very exhausted about all these allegations. But most importantly, I think Kenyans have had the worst of the worst. This is not the first propaganda that has hit the ground. You know, earlier on, we have been hearing allegations from afar that, you know, the deputy president has made attempts to assassinate the president. So when that actually gets to the common mwananchi, I mean, that to me, that is the worst of the worst that someone can attempt to do. So I feel like Kenyans have even become desensitized towards, you know, any allegations that is flung or made against the deputy president. And it has now reached the point where the mwananchi is even saying, tunataka huyo mwizi, you know? These are after, you know, allegations had been made against the deputy president, stating that his integrity is in question because of the various scandals that he's been involved in.
Yes.
And yet Kenyans have now have remained firm and said, huyo ndio ule mwizi tunataka, tumeshaamua ni huyo mwizi. So Kenyans are slowly becoming desensitized to all these things that are going on.
Yeah.
Because who are we going to trust? Who are these? From where is this allegation coming from?
Yes.
Is it coming from a credible source that Kenyans can be like, if this person says it, then it must be true? Because the president's credibility has also come into question.
Exactly.
So Kenyans are left wondering, okay, so who then do we believe? So I do not foresee that it will really change the president's, the deputy president's reputation in the eyes of the common monarchy. No.
Okay. You know what, Tabitha? The question of who do we trust, the way she's putting it, Wanjiru is putting it, who do we trust? And Mwananchi is already used to the situation. Okay, sawa, what's next? Next, that is my question to you, Tabitha.
First of all, Victor, allow me to respond to the guest in studio.
Yes,
when she says that she has already dismissed this as a propaganda. And I thought we same conversation when she said that we cannot dismiss it entirely as a fallacy or whatever until it's proven and the evidence. We were supposed to wait for evidence, remember? So I think we are not still moving from that. We cannot.
We have to wait for evidence in politics, Tabitha. In politics, there's no evidence.
Yes, we can't dismiss it.
If it's told well and good, if it doesn't sell, sawa.
Sawa. Maybe it's not one of those things that need to sell. The things, as we said, this is a very heavy issue that literally holds ground. So it has to be proven. So because we are waiting for events to unfold, then we cannot sit down here and dismiss it as a propaganda. Until we get there, then we say it's a propaganda, and then we shall bring politics into it. Also, another thing, when you talk about Kenyans, I've decided that the Mwizi is the person they want to elect as the president. I didn't say he's a Mwizi, you're the one who brought that forth. Then you'll be misleading many Kenyans, because I personally, or many other Kenyans, they also have their own decisions of whom they want to be their president. So literally, you're not speaking for the many thousands or millions of Kenyans. I will say that on personality trials or personality tests, Victor, the personality of the president has been tainted by the deputy president. We have seen it time without number. When he's come out and called him names and called him a betrayer and called him what, and said that he's using the government funds to, try and fund the presidential campaign for Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, with no proofs to all grounds for it. We have seen him also say that the president literally just dismissed him out of office. Even himself, he never gave us a reason. Actually, I think the deputy president needed to tell us why, at what point did they fall out, because if he was part of the government, which he was part of the government, they were elected, the two of them, as the senior most people in the executive with the people of Kenya, then he needs to also play accountability on his part and come forth and tell us, I am going to be in opposition, because he started being in opposition quite a time ago when the handshake happened, because this and this and this. It was so bare for him to just tell us it's because the Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga was brought into the government and he was sidelined. He was sidelined on what grounds? So we ought to see him come. He should even call a press conference and be composed enough. And as he responds to the president, he does it in a way that he convinces the people. As so far as I'm concerned, the president spoke the other day, the deputy president spoke yesterday in his defense. Literally, is not convincing enough that this is a propaganda. It literally also needs to call for an evidence-based conversation on this particular matter, rather than just dismissing it as something that the president or the government is trying to sell their own project, which is right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. So as it plays, the president's image has already been tainted by his deputy. And now, I think it serves the deputy president right for him also now to be called accountable, especially if he's found guilty of treasonry. And it's not something that Kenyans will take slightly. And Victor, just allow me to mention this. In the voters' basket, there on Wednesday, as we were discussing about the effects of the president coming in to support his own presidential candidate, and they were saying that he was trying to force him on the people of Kenya. Remember that this particular issue, if at all it's proven to be true, it's not a propaganda, because it's only propaganda if evidence will not be brought forth. So if it's proven to be true, it will going to affect the voting patterns in the central Kenya in particular, because you ask yourself, why is it that the president did not call even the elders from the Nyanza parts of Kenya, or even the central, or even the coast? He only had to call the elders from the central part of Kenya. So there is something about the voting pattern there that is going to shift with the time. Only when it's proven, and even at the moment, believe me, as you said, that 3,000 is not a small number. And remember, these elders, I must believe they're influential. So the message they're selling out there already is eating on the personality of the deputy president. And you can imagine the effect it will have when the evidence comes forth. So basically for us as Kenyans right now, apart from all this and what the deputy president and his the president are trying to have the battles, as for us is to remain very peaceful. And another thing, we want leadership and not politics as much. What is it that the deputy president wants to sell for us to elect him as a president? So far, I would say that what we have seen him do is defend himself, like what Amicia said, is try to taint the president in bad image and respond here and there. He'll look very honorable if he'll continue to sell us and give us strategies on how he's going to implement so many things they call, and even his bottom-up economic model, which so many people are not alienated to. So we literally need to see ideologies being sold and the deliverables, not just politics. And that is not something we want to see us discussing even moving forward. That is the only thing he's going to be telling people when it goes from one rally to another and one rally to another, talking about other people. Let him come forth and tell us literally that as a deputy president, I want to be a president, and this is what I think I'll bring forth to the table. You know, for the president, Victor, he's already serving his time is ending in the office. So we can't literally say much about him as an individual because nobody wants to vote him. He's already serving his term. So the deputy president literally has to sell himself, nothing short to us for us to. It's not on a sympathy basis. So far, I think he's not doing quite well in terms of convincing us, even as youths, to give him votes as the next president of this country.
All right. Okay. Tabitha, I'll treat that as your parting shot. Yes, I'll treat that as your parting shot. Let me come to Hamisi from Mombasa. Hamisi, as they say, it's now a hard nut to crack, quite literally. In Mombasa, we all know how it's hard to crack that nut. So it must be a very hard nut to crack for the deputy president, at least now, to change the whole, narrative that he tried to topple his boss in the mountain. Remember, he's been making a number of moves in the mountain, and he's gotten, his fair share from the mountain. And now he will have a lot of work to do to change the narrative. Hamisi.
Yes, and the personality issue is now there. Some people say the people we trusted, the person we trusted seems to have been doing something negative to the president. So to fight back for your personality in politics in the central province, the deputy president has a lot of work to do, and he should just do that work instead of, because now if he listens to you did this, he will be answering, like I said earlier, he will be responding to other issues, and he will be diverted from selling his case to the Kenyans. For example, in Mombasa here, we don't want, some of us who are listening to him so that he says, okay, when I come, I'll be able to do this. But when you come all the way from Nairobi, and you say you are now responding to somebody in Nairobi here, instead of telling us what would happen here, is strange. The other question we are asking is the deputy president is still the deputy president of Kenya. Has he been working? Is he still in office? Because some people will be asking, is he still in office or is he on the ground campaigning? So those are some of the things he should take care when he's making some statements. And he will just sell. If I was advising, please bring your blueprints. Even if it is half an hour, say this is what I'm standing for. Explain further. Bottom up has not sunk properly in some of us, and put it in Kiswahili. When you come to Mombasa and say bottom up, people have interpretation which will not give the same message. So maybe that is what he should do. Be able to say, when I say bottom up, I mean X, Z. Otherwise, here people have put it, opponents have put it negatively. Completely.
What is the Kiswahili version when you come to Mombasa? You're becoming mischievous here. All right. So, advisory, as an old man, I advise that deputy president should that's a good point. But then, so what I'm trying to say is that the deputy president should be unpredictable, because he should not be so quick to answer to some punches directed to him. Like, for example, he came to Mombasa. Perhaps he came to Mombasa because he had planned to come to Mombasa, to Kilifi, and do a tour, and his, notes and the pointers to address when he landed there. So perhaps it should not be more predictable, right?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. You should be able to say, I'm here. In fact, let somebody else do some homework of analysis to give him some response. So he just comes here. He must have had an agenda for us. He must talk to us in that language that we understand. He has his people who know Kiswahili. They should speak more than him, so that the people can say, "Oh, yes, that's what he wants. That's what he means." And like when he comes here and those people are after me, they are removing even some of the services. We don't know. We don't know whether they have or they haven't, and it's not necessary.
All right.
What is necessary is what will happen in the next few months. Yes.
Okay. Amisi, allow me to cut you short on that particular point. Your network has a problem, but once we get it, I'll give you a second to finalize. All right, we are running out of time, but I'll be quite unfair if I want to do the ritual here. We have you in the show for the first time, and you're running for Kiambu constituency for the first time. You're throwing yourself into the ring, so to speak. I'll give you your time, as I usually do on the show, and I have a guest, so that you can talk to your constituents and probably sell them your manifesto. First of all, what is your manifesto?
Victor, I've been as an advocate, I've been in practice now for 10 years.
Right.
And in this period of time as an advocate, my role was to represent my clients' rights in the court of law. And I can tell you that as an advocate, one of the biggest challenges that we have encountered is the manner in which these laws are drafted to begin with.
Yes.
In as much as you see a client is aggrieved, sometimes our hands are tied because the law of the land is what will be referenced by the court when a decision is made. And sometimes the law of the land is not fair. And so there is definitely a time has come where we need to shift our obligations of protecting people's rights in court to now protecting their rights in parliament by ensuring that the right legislation is what is being enacted. You will recall that there have been various conversations around about the manner in which the economy has been affected purely because of the legislations that have been passed and purely because of the role of the omission of parliament to follow the law, some of the laws that have been passed. So one of the things that I want to achieve as a member of parliament, should the people trust me with a mandate to represent them in parliament, is to restore integrity in parliament. We know for a fact that parliamentarians have been called to question on their integrity when it comes to passing certain motions. And we've even had some allegations that motions have been passed. I mean, these are allegations at this point. None has been proved. But we've had certain allegations that motions have been passed after certain parliamentarians have been under the influence of, receiving monetary gain for as little as even 10,000 shillings. And it is not fair to the common mwananchi because these decisions trickle down to them. Think about energy. The laws that were passed that brought in certain companies which are now deemed as referred to as IPPs, who are selling electricity at a cost that is unaffordable to the mwananchi. Think about the issue of the projects that are being implemented. Are they being passed through parliament? Is parliament assenting to some of these budgets? So these things are trickling to the common mwananchi, and the first order of business is to restore integrity so that the quality of living, the standard of living of the common mwananchi.
In no particular order, give me maybe three your priorities a day after being sworn in as a member of parliament.
I think that my order of priorities, number one, is to give my constituents an opportunity to publicly participate in the manner in which the resources are going to be distributed. And this is something that I have noticed is not happening. There needs to be representation from each ward, there needs to be representation from each village, because at the end of the day, a parliamentarian is a representative, not a dictator. So the first order of business is to give each and every person within the constituency an opportunity to indicate which projects are a priority to them and which projects they want to be implemented first.
Yes.
And this could vary depending on what the legislation stipulates. Currently, the NGCDF Act says that it limits the certain projects that a parliamentarian can implement in the constituency. And this boils down to education, security, sports, perhaps even environment, and so on. So there's only a limited number of projects that a person can implement. So I will narrow down to I will narrow down to propagating on the implementation of projects that are geared towards training of the youth.
Right.
I will narrow down to propagating on projects that will bring economic empowerment, especially towards the small enterprises.
Yes.
I will narrow down to upscaling security in areas where there's an issue of security. So those will be my three priority areas.
It's quite unfair that we don't have all other candidates here, but what makes you the best candidate for Kiambu constituency?
I think that what sets me apart from all candidates, I have never once had a candidate say that they will give the people an opportunity to say what projects they want to be implemented. Right. And it always seems as though a parliamentarian or member of parliament comes as a boss.
Yes.
And yet he is a representative. And so he needs to represent the wishes of the people. Let us not treat people as though they do not understand their problems and as though they do not have homegrown solutions.
Yes.
All right? So we need to give them first an opportunity to tell us which are these problems that are truly hurting them on the ground. And then after that, it is when now we can have a discussion on how best we can now bring this, we can now offer solutions to these problems that are affecting them. Yes.
Women are still fighting to find themselves on the negotiation table. For example, the 2/3 gender rule is still hanging. Anytime it's almost getting to the last stage, it's taken back. What's your take on that? Because it's still a big battle between other members.
And I think this issue needs to be observed at this very stage where we are having nomination. Every party needs to begins to justify whether at this present time they are meeting the 2/3 gender rule. And if they are not meeting the 2/3 gender rule, let them give reasons why they are not doing so. Is it because of intimidation? Is it because we have aspirants, women aspirants who are just failing to present themselves to the people? And if a woman aspirant presents themselves to the people for election, and you have a male counterpart who is also doing the same, what measures are they taking to ensure that they give the women a fair space to battle it out against their male counterparts? So it begins now during the nomination stage. Let the parties themselves justify whether they are indeed making any attempts whatsoever to implement the 2/3 gender rule.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But director says that I need to give just 5 seconds. Starting now, that is your camera 5, talk to your Kiambu.
I believe that I am able to carry out this mandate. I believe that I'm able to carry this mandate, and I hope that you will give me the opportunity to do so.
Absolutely. All right. Perfect. Kiambu people, you have her. And all other candidates. The choice will be yours come 9th of August. I think this is the best place to wrap up the show. Thank you so much for our guest, Tabitha Ogutu, via Zoom, all the way from Siaya, as well as Amit Mboga, who is a governance expert from Mombasa, and Wanjiru Madhai for the first time to join us on the show. Welcome to the show one more time, and again and again and again. And as always, we wish you all the best in your political battle. All right, and you as a viewer, thank you for your valid company. My name is Victor Lowe. We are not yet done yet. We are taking a break, but we come back. We still have got much more lined up for you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Television news production is a complex process in which different professionals and machines interact in order to bring the story alive. The first stage in the TV news production process is the pre-production. This stage involves general preparations, idea generation, and research.
As soon as I get to the office, you check the newsroom diary to see if there's a diary of events, like what is planned during the day, and if there are events to be covered maybe.
In this case, the news editor assigns the reporter the news story to execute for the day.
So what happens is you're given an assignment, you go for a brief at the editor's desk, basically telling you this is what's happening, the 5 W's and H, what is happening, where is it happening, who are the main speakers and everything, and possibly a number of questions that may help you do the story well.
He then goes to the head of electronic news gathering, who assigns a camera person to accompany him on the assignment. Once that is done, the reporter and the cameraman proceed to the parking lot for transport. Here, the necessary logistics have been coordinated by the logistic or assignment editor. The journey begins. Sometimes hitches happen. But nonetheless, the story must be told. Alternative plans are quickly put in place, and the crew is well on their way to execute the assignment. Once the reporter is on location and the setup is done, the actual shooting and recording begins. Once the guest has been interviewed, the reporter heads back to the newsroom and straight to the news editor for a debrief session.
So what is there? What is there?
After that, the reporter gets down to scripting the story. The script then goes to the editor for sub-editing. Here, the editor checks and corrects the script within context and writes necessary headlines and captions. The script can now go for translation to have it translated into Swahili for the purpose of the 7 p.m. Swahili Bulletin. And depending on the substance of the script, the editor can decide to make the news story a straight cut, requiring no voice-over, like in our case today. Or a package, meaning the reporter is expected to voice the script in the sound booth.
Speaking at a political rally in Bomet East constituency,
Once that is done, the reporter goes to the video edit suite, where he sits with a video editor to edit the story. Once done, the straight cut and the package are then sent to the transmission server. As the news presenter or anchor gets ready for the news bulletin, editors develop the running order, which is the lining up of the news items depending on the strength of the news of the day. This is done in consultation with the news producer on duty.
Before any production starts on the hour, we are the people who process the news before the bulletin starts.
I liaise with my editors on the desk. I follow up on the reporters in the field. I know who is where, doing what, and what story that is coming to us so that we can include it in our running order. And is everything ready from the anchor, from the scripts, from the clips, so that you have our production.
Meanwhile, those in charge of news transmission studio are busy getting ready, headed by the news director.
Stand by. In 3, 2, 1, cut. On air.
Bila shaka ni fahari yetu kuwa hapa kukupasha yaliyojiri humu.
Generally, my work entails liaising with sub-editors, video editors, reporters, anchors in studio. So when I come here at the gallery, as you can see the backdrop of my background, my work entails coordinating with technical guys, making sure the sound is good of the anchor who's in studio. Lighting is perfect. And then my shots at studio, they have to be the correct shots that I want to use for it to go on air.
Kundi hilo kwa jina Hapo Vipi limesema ni muhimu kwa Rais Uhuru Kenyatta, naibu wake William Ruto na kiongozi wa
And that is what is involved in TV news production.
As a national broadcaster, we here at KBC pride ourselves in being able to provide news that is fast, credible, it is factual, it is informative, and it is educative. Reporting from the KBC studios in Nairobi, Amnesty Emmanuel.
Why couldn't you mind your own business? Why did you make me do this, Rogelio?
Renata's the only good thing that's happened to me lately. If you have nothing specific to tell about why I shouldn't be seeing her, then don't say anything to me at all.
I told you to stay away from what's mine.
Found a body here! Help, please! The patient is entering a state of shock.
It's Father Daniel.
Lying heart.
Pues sembrando el veneno y la ambición.
Tusifikishane huko. Kasirika. Ukitaka pasuka. Sikuogopi Kate.
Nimekasirika kwa sababu mume wangu yuanilaumu mimi wakati mimi sijakutuma wewe.
Tutakuja kunishukuru siku moja hata kama si leo.
Kwa nini nimerudi hapa tena mimi? Tena haraka sana. Ni dhahiri hujatekeleza maagizo yangu.
Kwani hapa kuna sherehe ama ndio vipi?
You have broken my heart. I trusted you.
Welcome back to the program. Time for us to have our family check conversation this Monday morning, and we want to center our focus on self-esteem and independence, particularly amongst children and also the youth. My guest is already on set and he'll be helping us talk about that. I'm joined by Victor Otieno, who is a trained teacher as well as a psychologist. Vic, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
All right, let's just start by understanding what you want to talk about. You want to talk about self-esteem, independence, very quite, if I can say pertinent children topic, amongst children. But let's start by first understanding what self-esteem is holistically.
I'll say self-esteem is about our children being able to have a sense of self-worth, self-independence, generally the ability to make decisions, ability to be able to do things for themselves, ability to be able to do well in school, because when we have self-esteem, it translates into results. So a child being able to value themselves, being able to make decisions, being able to enjoy their company, and being able to enjoy the company of other children. Yes.
I think it's that aspect of value, a child being able to also value themselves.
Yes.
Is this part of what brings out the whole understanding of what self-esteem is?
Yes, exactly. You know, a child who doesn't value who they are will not be able to appreciate whatever it is that they are going to engage in, be it in schooling, their position in the family. So they should be able to first value who they are. That is when they are able to value the system in which they find themselves in.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's just go as we break it down before we get to even self-independence. That question of value. I mean, even when you look at adults, it's not a majority that would say they really value themselves, meaning that it actually emanates from some point. Perhaps even how you are brought up. For children, how do you grow that in them? How do you instill that in them?
I'd say it will start from a very young age. We are able to notice your child. As you feed your child, a child will be trying to wrestle the bottle from you, to use the bottle by themselves. There's already a child striving for independence. A child would want to touch everything. Sometimes you are washing the child, they'll try to do it by themselves. It's already asserting their independence. But now we'll need to help them. We need to help them so that they do it while not hurting themselves, while not posing a danger to themselves. So many times we find parents will not be able to give the child this opportunity. I know we do it from a good place as parents. You want the child to be safe, you want things to be perfect, but sometimes we overdo it until we are not allowing the child to be able to do things for themselves. Yes.
So is that more or less like being that overprotective kind of parent?
Exactly. Many parents are overprotective of their children. Problem is, we don't allow them to be children. We don't allow them to grow. Some people have said that children who grew up in the old setting, the village setting, were able to develop their independence well because they largely grew up in a community. They largely grew up without their parents watching their every other move. Yes.
So then how would you describe independence?
Independence is the ability to be able to make decisions for yourself. Be able to think for yourself, be able to do things for yourself. I know at some point you will work with others, but you see, if you can't do things for yourself, it will be very hard even to work with other people. Yes.
So then how does self-esteem and independence intertwine?
Yes, it starts from self, like we were saying before. A person should be able to value themselves.
Yes.
Because how can you value others if you don't value yourself? So you were able to value yourself, and then that will help you to establish boundaries when you're dealing with other people. So you need to have a set of self-values. This will help you to chart your path in life. So you can't be able to do well in life, you can't be able to cooperate with others unless you value yourself. It begins from you as an individual.
Okay,
yes.
So it all starts from you, and of course when it comes to children, it all begins from how you also train them, even as a parent and when they go to school as teachers.
Yes.
But what are some of these things, or if I can say factors, that lead to low self-esteem, particularly amongst children?
I'd say I start with being overprotective.
Just as you had mentioned.
Yes, working as a teacher some years back, I encountered children, a parent will do everything for their child. The excuse is, I went through this other trouble and I don't want my child to go through the same. So you find a child being pampered beyond the normal protection of a child, because there's a particular age in which a child should be able to, for example, take a bath. There's an age a child should be able to eat. So if we, in the name of protecting them, if we don't allow them to learn this, then they will delay it even in some developmental stages.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are the more factors? Because you talked about overprotectiveness, and I really want our viewers to also understand when you talk about self-esteem, because why I'm asking this is simply because even as you had mentioned earlier, when you look at also good number of adults, just aside from the independence, the also esteem is a factor. Good number of companies, when they have most of these forums, this is some of those topics that never miss, they don't feature. So clearly it's something that emanates or starts or even begins from as one was a child.
Yes.
So let's just talk about these factors aside from the overprotectiveness.
Yes, overprotectiveness was just one of them.
Yes.
I can talk about, you see, violence in the home.
Okay.
Some of our children have grown up seeing their parents fight. Seeing one of their parents, for example, being beaten by the other. So this has a psychological effect on the child, so that they grow up in fear, they grow up afraid, they grow up thinking, I mean, with a sense of guilt.
Yes.
Anything they are doing, they think maybe they are making a mistake. Another reason I'll talk about would be maybe the way parents approach children in correcting errant behaviors. Some parents will shout at the children, some will beat, overly punish.
Yeah.
So this will make a child always suspect whatever they are doing. They are suspicious. I've seen children, even just calling their name, you say example Eric, and is scared because from the family he comes from, all they know is violence. Anytime an adult calls them, it's going to be violent. So some of the factors I've said, there's a death of a parent, a loss of a parent, can also affect a child psychologically. You see, that sense of loss, the space that was covered, say, by the mother or the father, suddenly being left, and if not helped, it can affect how they view themselves, how they view others. So I can talk about bullying, bullying in the play areas, some of the house helps we employ, you know, in the neighborhood, and sometimes teachers.
Teachers, how? I mean, aside from parents, mother and father, school is like the second home.
Exactly. Because now it's not the ideal, but there are situations where teachers can serve as bullies to children, and I'm really hoping it's ending. It's not as rampant as it used to be, but we know many years back there used to be corporal punishment, and if I look back, I remember some of my classmates who dropped out of school because of the beating, you know.
Okay, so it actually goes a long way.
Oh, it does.
Let's go back a bit, Victor, on that question and issue of violence. And this is particularly in the home setup, because again, also when you look at the children that we could describe as vulnerable children, those that come from violent homes, they don't miss in that category.
Definitely.
And clearly it goes a long way in also how it affects them. In your practice as a psychologist, have you had to encounter some of these children that have come from such homes, and how do you deal with that?
Yes, it's bad because, you know, children, they might not say it, but whatever happens in their surrounding, they watch. They watch. That is why you have heard of these examples where you say a parent can be telling a child not to smoke while the parent is smoking.
Yes.
The child will end up smoking because you see, you're the first role model as a parent the child is seeing. And the life, children model better They model better than they listen. So they see violence. They will even end up being abusers in future. Okay, they see violence, it causes fear, it causes an unsafe home. You see, some children will be afraid of going at home because they know when daddy will come back, it will be violence. When mommy will come back, it will be violence. So it affects them, you know, psychologically in terms of fear. There's nothing worse you'll do to a child than causing fear. I'd say fear would be enemy of independence and self-worth, self-esteem. A child needs to be assured an environment in which they are sure the others are protecting them. An environment in which they know once they come home they are safe. But now some homes don't provide this. And it ends up on how they view themselves, how they view others. We have seen children who are afraid of men because the only man they see is a violent man. Okay, so again, this same child goes to school, and then the class teacher, for example, is a man. Okay, who sometimes may not have understood the background the child is coming from, and this will affect how the child will even do well. I mean, will perform in class. Yes.
So then, how do you? Let's just be more practical. How do you start working with this child? Because when you look at good number of families, and we can sit here and blame and attribute it to many factors, but sadly this is the reality. There's a lot of violence in most of these families. And children don't get to speak about this, just perhaps alluding to the fact that what you've mentioned, do they understand me? I mean, home is worse, school is even more worse, if there's anything like that.
Yes.
So, also, again, just borrowing from your psychologist background, how do you start rebuilding this esteem that you're talking about to some of these children that emanate from this background, this independence that you're talking about?
Okay, I think one way in which some quarters are already working towards this is some schools have started to embrace counseling. And they'll take their teachers through counseling. They'll do in-service counseling training for their teachers. Some schools, I go to a few schools, they invite in counselors to come and speak to students. So I think that is one way of helping these students, because by the fact that a teacher will spend more time with the child, they will notice when something is wrong. So if that kind of teacher is empowered, or if in their school they are able to access a counselor, then they are able to help. They start from there. I've seen cases where a teacher has made referrals, called the parent, and then these cases are referred to counselors. Other support should be in the churches, because very important part of the society. So in the churches, again, some churches already do it. They have counselors, in-house counselors. So if say a mother has issues, they'll speak to such mothers. They'll have some programs over school holidays where they speak to children, they empower children, because again, a child should know a behavior that is not normal, something that you know that is denying them peace, and they should be able to reach someone to talk to. Yes.
So looking at some of these parents who may not know how, because you're also largely involved in coaching and counseling. And again, this is also very particular to those parents that feel that they've gotten to a point where they cannot live together anymore. And good number of times it is these children that were born into the family who get to suffer. And again, when you look at the long-term effect of that, is that it may interfere with the esteem of this child.
Definitely. Now, there reaches a time where marriage can't work. And I know many people frown on divorce and separation, but I'd advise it's better to separate than be dead.
Okay. Especially when there's a lot of violence in there.
Exactly. Now, problem comes in during separation. Many times there are lots of bitterness between the two parents involved. Now,
and less consideration on the children.
Exactly. And there's ego, there is trying to teach someone a lesson, forgetting that they are innocent children who are not a part to the violence, who are not a part to the disagreements. Now, I wish, and I think already through churches, there are such forums, not much though, where parents are taken through some form of therapy. you know, someone you have lived with, you don't just wake up one morning and, you know, you separate, and there are children involved. You know, it is only you, the two of you who are who have separated. Sometimes the husband or their wife might be a bad husband, a bad wife, but not a bad parent. But sometimes...
So these are actually two different things.
Exactly, exactly. So therapy at this stage would help parents to navigate that it is just us who are separating, not the children. You know, and if they are taken through this, even children, if it is possible, even children are taken through therapy so that they handle this, because they are used to seeing the two parents, then suddenly they are not going to see one. Sometimes because of the bitterness involved in the separation, another parent might even refuse access, another parent might use, you see, the court systems to stop the other parent. Well, so, okay, I know there are cases where you need to keep the children safe, but not all the cases. Sometimes the parent has no issue as a parent. Yes.
Okay. So then, in such kind of an instance, Vic, how do these parents come together in terms of supporting these children? You've really put out very, very good examples that sometimes ego could be involved. I just want to show you that I'm the one who's my child. Go through the court system. I might deny you access to this child. And I could use different examples like, I don't think you're a good parent. But we want to do this for the benefit of this child. Why? Because we're looking at the long-term effect that our separation might have on this child. And why are we asking this is because it's reality. It is actually happening.
Yes.
And children are suffering. When you look at also again good number of these children that end up to the streets, this is where they come from.
Exactly. So I think is maturing as parents to understand that my role as a parent is different from my role as a husband, for example. You see, if we look at the best interest of the child, that's what even what the Children's Act talk about.
Yes.
The best interest of the child. Then you will put your disagreements aside. It is just, you have just disagreed as a couple. Okay? So if the other person is a good parent, you don't need to deny the children the chance to be with their mother or their father in that case. You see, it's just maturing. I call it maturing so that you know, you learn to separate issues. You see, and I think it boils down again to emotional maturity. We have had cases where someone carries office problem to home.
Happens quite a lot.
Exactly. So if you're able to separate, it is us as a couple, not as parents. And then the child doesn't have to go through problems because I'm going through problems. Yes.
Okay, makes sense. How does environment, or in what way is it a factor, particularly when it comes to the esteem? And this is not just for children, but also for young people alike.
Yes. Environment is very important. You see, I mentioned earlier around that security, a sense of security. What a child needs from an adult more than many other things is security. You see, we like giving examples that our parents think we are heroes. You can be as frail as I am, but when your child is talking to their children, they'll tell you, I'll go and tell daddy or I'll go and tell mommy. Okay, so a home is supposed to provide security for a child, for a youth, even for an adult, security. Now, it is in a secure environment that a child will start to express themselves. Okay, because self-esteem, self-independence, we are talking about expression of your individuality. So when you are safe, you are able to explore. You are able to try in things. You are able to do things, of course, under guidance depending on the age. Again, freedom doesn't just mean...
do whatever you want, anytime you want.
Exactly. Yes. There's the part of safety, but then in a safe environment. You explore, but in a safe environment. Yes.
Let's explore independence a bit, because again, also when you sit with the majority of us young people, they will tell you that we want to be in the table, we want to be there to make decisions, and a good number will tell you that by the lack of that, they feel like they're not independent enough. So let's start this from that toddler child perspective. Independence as a whole. You, of course, described to us what that means and what it is. But what other factors are there that constitute independence? We like to talk about financial independence, but what else is there that talks about independence?
You see, like I was saying, when we talked about parents protecting their children, sometimes we assume they are too young to have a say, okay? But a child has a say. A child has a say. I remember my years as a teacher, it helped me much to have an orderly class when I sat down with them to make class rules. In the school I worked, we used to do that. We sit down together and make class rules together. But you see...
With the children?
With the children. And therefore it becomes very easy. In fact, there was a language we used to use when making class rules. We say, remember to... You see, even the language we use to speak to children, there's always this language of don't. Don't make noise. Now, I remember we used to employ such language as remember to be silent in class.
So you avoid the use of don't?
Yes. It's more orderly, you know, it's from up, down. You see, now you can sit down, even as a parent, you can sit down with children and make rules. And you will agree even on consequences of breaking the rules. You see, but you see, when we assume that they are too young to know, they are too young to think, and we make rules for them, then that's where that feeling you are talking about will come in. You see, I didn't make the rules, you see. And sometimes maybe because we don't know as parents, we do it even to a child who is a teenager, who is already having their minds. You see? So involve them, involve them. There are major decisions, there are decisions that you say, for example, you want to move houses. You want to move a child from school, one school to another. Surely you need to involve them.
And let's assume this child is like, what, grade 1, 2, at that point it's important to involve them?
Exactly. Prepare them. At least prepare them. You see, don't just wake up one morning that Mommy has said we are changing schools.
Doesn't that go against what especially we know as our African culture? Or is it a time whereby we should shun some of those retrogressive cultures?
But you see, the way our parents grew up or the way some of us grew up is different. Today, children have lots of information. In fact, in your own house, you leave your child with television, with internet. They know. We talk about rights. They know. They know it already. You see, and so we are not talking to a child who is like maybe our parents were. They have information. They watch some of these programs on the television. They see them. You see, they have information. Our setup in towns, they are living with other children that they are playing with other children who are giving them information. They'll compare how they are treated. You see, so at least involve them in making that decision. I'm not saying that let them decide, but involve them. You see, when you seek their opinion, then you can convince them why yours maybe is better than theirs. At least if there's an understanding. This I discovered, I gave you an example of how we used to make rules with students.
Yes.
When they participate, they find it easy to follow the rules. Because then I can ask you, hey, what did we agree rule number 1 was? You see? So then when you say, I said, so sometimes it will be, when you say, when it is done because you have said, sometimes they'll be doing it because they are afraid.
Or just because you said.
Yes.
So one of those ways to foster this independence that you're talking about is get them involved as much as possible.
Exactly. Speak to them. Speak to them. But and they have information. You see, like I'm saying, children have lots of information. I've come to appreciate this working with children. They have lots of information. You might think they don't know what you're going through. You might think your fights are only in the bedroom. They know. Because
they're fully aware.
When they speak to us, they tell us, they say.
So then would you agree, like, you know, because again, you also deal with the young people, when they keep saying that since you're not at the table, why are we following? Why are we doing? Also, again, when you attribute it to the voter apathy that has been experienced, particularly amongst young people, is like, why should I even go ahead and get registered as a voter if I wouldn't be in that space?
Exactly.
Is that the same analogy?
It's exactly, because why should they participate if they're not, you know, they're not going to be on the table? Like, if to use your language. You see, when you involve them, like I said, they will feel a sense of responsibility towards it, a decision they participated in making. You see, but as opposed to when you have made it, and you see, some of us grew up where Mommy said we are doing this. Why? There's an age where a child will ask why. Because I've said so.
There's no reason to it.
Exactly. So when you're doing that, it can work for some time, but a time will come when they will be able to tell you that I'm not doing it.
And at that point, you'll have...
It will be too late.
You can't do anything about it.
Exactly.
You had slightly alluded to rights, and much of what we know is that the Children's Bill is still before Parliament. That is the Children's Bill 2021. Much of what it seeks to advocate is the children's rights, of course, right to life, to protection, and all these rights that you can talk about. And again, stakeholders are championing for this. But are children aware of their rights? Because I believe one of those reasons that to build your esteem and even your independence is that you need to be aware of the things surrounding you.
Yes, like I was saying, they are largely aware today.
Children are aware of their rights.
They are largely aware of their rights. You see, we have lots of advocacies, we have lots of information in schools, there are NGOs, in slums, I know, for example, that will teach girls about their rights. They will know about abuse. It's taught in schools. So children are largely aware of their rights. They know, they do know. And like I also said, in our normal estates here in town, the child will be playing with their friends, and their friends will tell them, us, we are able to do this in our house. What about you? So you can't assume they don't know. They do know.
So part of that kind of interaction also gets them to be aware.
Exactly.
It creates awareness in them.
Exactly.
All right. Again, when you look at the World Children's Day, always celebrated in November, it's actually an annual event. The last one was November 20th last year. Looking at some of this annual celebration, of course, again, put there to mark the progress or how far as a country, as a globe, we have reached when it comes to championing for the rights of children, putting them at the forefront. Do you feel we are doing enough?
Hard to say. There are some parts of the country, for example, where I'd say we are doing well. But then you will go to some parts, the village settings, some parts of the country we know. Information is not in every place. Some places even accessing a school is not as easy as it is in towns. So yes, we are doing well, but we can never say it is now enough. Because as we are speaking, there are some people who are not even watching this.
So they're not even privy to what is happening.
Exactly. Yes, so we can always still do better. Yes.
So now just go effort.
Exactly.
All right, well said, and a good place to end the conversation. I have been speaking to Vic Otieno, who is a trained teacher as well as a psychologist. Our conversation centered around fostering self-esteem and independence amongst children. This is where we bring the conversation to a close, and ultimately, good morning, Kenya. I'm Doreen Arange Okello on behalf of the entire team. We said thank you so much for watching. Till tomorrow, have a good morning.
ni Mitikasi leo, makala kutoka BBC yaliyomo. Tunaangazia umuhimu wa fedha zinazotumwa kutoka mataifa ya nje na faida zake kwa biashara. Baadaye shirika la ndege la Ethiopia lateua afisa mkuu mtendaji mpya. Kisha je, upi mustakabali wa shirika la reli Afrika Kusini? Mubashara kutoka Nairobi, Kenya, usibanduke. Natumai buheri wa afya unapotutegea. Karibu katika habari za biashara zinazokuhusu, uchambuzi wa kina na mahojiano. Jina langu mie Hamida Abubakar. Tuanze na masuala ya fedha, ambapo fedha zinazotumwa kutoka mataifa ya nje zinatoa unafuu wa maisha kwa mamilioni ya watu barani Afrika. Mtiririko wa fedha hizo kwa mataifa ya kipato cha chini na cha kati ilifikia dola bilioni 550 mwaka 2019 na kupita uwekezaji wa moja kwa moja wa kigeni pamoja na usaidizi rasmi wa maendeleo. Kwa jumla, fedha zinazotumwa kwa nchi za kusini mwa jangwa la Sahara zilipungua kwa kiasi hadi 14.1 mwaka 2020, lakini ikaongezeka kwa 6.2 ikiwa ni dola bilioni 45 mwaka 2021. Hii ni kulingana na Benki ya Dunia. Ethiopia inashikilia nafasi ya 10 kama wapokeaji wa fedha za kigeni kusini mwa jangwa la Sahara. Benki Kuu ya Ethiopia inasema nchi hiyo ni ya 5 kwa ukubwa wa kupokea fedha hizo baada ya Senegal, Kenya na Nigeria. Kwa sasa kuna takriban wa Ethiopia 870,000 walioko ghaibuni ambao walituma dola bilioni 2.5 mwaka 2020. Utafiti mpya umebaini kuwa fursa nyingi za watu walioko nje ya nchi kuwekeza nchini Ethiopia sana huwa ni upande wa ujenzi, huku chakula kikiwa ndio matumizi ya msingi. Takriban 21% ya watu waliohojiwa wakisema pesa hizo zinasaidia sana kulisha familia zao nyumbani. John Mwangi ambaye ni meneja wa mipango katika kampuni ya Pangea Trust anatuchambulia kwa undani zaidi swala